very good morning to you. It's just after 6 o'clock on Sunday, December the 22nd. 3 days to go until Christmas. As you can see, we're still very festive here at talkTV Towers. Thanks very much for your company this morning. As you would expect, though, I have great news for you today because today is Short Person Day. Yes, Short Person Day. It's a day that celebrates those people who come in small packages.
Short people are just the same as you and I.
And happy birthday to Ralph Fiennes. Who is he? Well, he's an award-winning actor. He's also an ambassador for UNICEF. Here's something you didn't know. He also has Serbian citizenship. And he turns 62 today. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday to you.
And as I was just saying, of course, we've just got 3 days to go until the big day. Yes, 3 days to go until Christmas Day.
This is Santa, and this is my station. Whoa.
It certainly is, certainly is. Right, let's start today's show, shall we?
Today's fascinating facts.
So lots of these for you today. Let's start with these ones. On this day in 1716, Lincoln's Inn Theatre in London put on England's first pantomime, which included the characters of Harlequin, Columbine and Pantaloon. Also on this day in 1943, the children's writer, brilliant writer, Beatrice Potter, died. Her house at Hilltop in Surrey is open to the public. And on this day in 1965, an experiment was carried out. That's right. The government introduced an experimental speed limit of 70 miles an hour on motorways in England. Like most experiments which involve the government, that speed limit is still in force. And those are today's fascinating facts.
Welcome to the show where the spirit's alive. David Bull and friends, the joy in our lives. Your spunky Christmas breakfast, our favorite time of year.
Yes, good morning, David Bull and friends. Now, I have chosen my friend today very, very carefully. I thought I needed someone suave and debonair, someone who's always well-dressed. Last year, he excelled himself as an elf. This year, he's outdone himself because he has come as a gingerbread man. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Charlie Rowley. Good morning.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
It's a tremendous outfit.
Well, thank you. But had I known it was Short People Day, I would have come as a shortbread. I could have come as a shortbread.
Yeah, you should have done. How are you?
I'm very well. All the better for seeing you. Merry Christmas.
And Merry Christmas to you as well. Is this your last day? Are you working until Christmas?
No, I'm working until and over Christmas, I'm afraid. But I enjoy it because it's a lot more fun and festive and you can let your hair down.
Yeah, and you can spread joy to people who are spending Christmas on their own, many people as well. Do you want to just stand up, actually, so we can see your outfit? Because it is
well,
quite...
am I allowed? I've got the nod there from Tom.
So I just couldn't quite believe what I saw this morning when you came in.
Yes.
Look at that! So the whole 9 yards there. I mean, round of applause from the gallery.
Thank you.
Your adoring fans.
Can I do that? Probably not. It's a bit too early, isn't it?
It's 5 minutes past 6. Good morning. Let me just say good morning to Darren, loving the waistcoat. Dr. Rennie, where is Dr. Rennie? Dr. Rennie is in bed, I think, and quite rightly so, but we're here.
We're here.
I mentioned, actually, earlier on, Ralph Fiennes, the award-winning actor, ambassador for UNICEF. His real name is Ralph Nathaniel Twistleton Wickham Fiennes.
Quite a tongue twister.
Indeed. But that makes me think he's from very good stock, good pedigree. He was actually born in 1962 in Ipswich, from my neck of the woods, actually, in Suffolk, in England. He graduated from RADA. He is known for his interpretation of Shakespeare. He excelled on stage at the Royal National Theatre, had huge success at the Royal Shakespeare Company. He is widely regarded as Britain's most well-known and popular actors. He's been in so many things, actually. Is there anything that stands out for you? Can you think of anything that he was in?
Far too many to mention, I'm
well
sure.
Done.
Far too many.
He played Voldemort, of course, in Harry Potter. I think, actually, he was particularly well cast as when he played Gareth Mallory, or M, in the Bond films. Do you remember that?
No.
Yeah,
no,
well, he's an archetypal kind of Brit, and so he fitted well into the civil service.
I'm not very good with films. I have to say, I can't stand, actually, a bad film, or any film for that matter, because I always get a bit fidgety and think I should be doing something else. Like,
really?
Yes, yes.
So that's why I don't go, but the idea of a cinema is, I think you take yourself out of your normal environment. You put your phone down, you actually concentrate, because otherwise at home, you start watching something. I have to turn my phone over now or bury it, because otherwise you get interrupted the whole time by some notification,
exactly.
Of no relevance.
Of which I'm sure you're inundated with.
Well, I am inundated. It's normally you telling me what you're up to.
Well, yes. But what I didn't tell you what I was up to the other day was I did actually go to the cinema. I went to see Gladiator 2. I know, very, very butch, like me.
And just like you.
And it was actually very enjoyable. I did, because exactly as you say, you take yourself away from home, you buy a box of popcorn, Diet Coke or whatever, and you actually sit and watch the film in all its glory.
And of course, I think you understand the mastery of film there, because of course, when you see it in that kind of sort of dimension, you can see what goes into it. I think sometimes that's lost in the small screen.
Yes, yeah, and they do say, and I'm not here, on commission or anything, but Wicked, which apparently is a very good film, which I've not seen yet, but a lot of people say you must go and see it at the cinema because of the cinematic or whatever the word is.
Cinematography.
Yes. Thank you very much.
It's still early. It's still early. Let me just finish by telling you one more thing about Ralph Fiennes. I told you he was from very good stock because of his name. He's actually 8th cousin to the King.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. I didn't know that either. His shared ancestry also with King James II of Scotland. So there you go.
Well, where there's blame, there's a claim.
Well said. Let's move on now to serious stories, because a 9-year-old child, 4 adults were killed after a car drove into a crowd at a Christmas market in the eastern German city of Magdeburg. We talked about this yesterday. More than 200 people were injured, 41 critically in the attack that lasted about 3 minutes. And if you are just waking up, here's the front page of the Sunday Times. Germany given multiple warnings by Saudi Arabia over the market killer. This has been sort of running overnight. So Saudi says it repeatedly warned the German government about this extremist views of this man, a Saudi national who drove a car into a Christmas market, as I said, killing at least 5 people, including this poor 9-year-old child, injuring hundreds more. He's been named, this happened since yesterday's show, Talib Abdulmasin, who is a 50-year-old doctor. Now, he arrived in Germany in 2006 from Saudi. He is the suspect, as we know. There's huge pressure now on the German government because obviously Saudi is saying it warned Germany. Germany hasn't responded to that. Many other people are saying Saudi is trying to cover its tracks and whether they really did warn it. But at the end of the day, there are real human beings affected here, and it's not the first attack on a Christmas market.
Well, absolutely, and as you say, this happened 8 years ago in Berlin, and so the people of Germany will still be reeling and having those thoughts brought up all over again and questioning those that are supposed to be responsible for keeping the country safe. And I think I'm right in saying, because I was reading up on this, obviously, since the tragedy sort of broke out, that different states in Germany have their own intelligence sort of system. So it is totally fragmented. It's not a central, MI5, MI6 counterterrorism unit that we have in the UK. So every state is responsible for its counterterrorism process. So, Saudi Arabia might have notified Germany, but the questions that Germans will be asking, and that everybody should be asking, is, well, who did they notify, and how was that information passed along? Was it passed along? Did it trickle down from, the state to, or was the government, the centralised government, to the specific state? I mean, questions that I'm sure will be answered in due course as people obviously just at the moment take the time to grieve the loss of what's obviously happened. And 200 people injured is not insignificant at all, that goes without saying.
I mean, there are so many questions here. Actually, Saudi has said they actually did notify Germany with notes verbal to German authorities. They said he had extreme views, whatever those views were, but also there's lots of stuff that doesn't really make sense to me. So I think you have to read the media with a degree of scepticism, because they're talking about the fact he's a far-right extremist, that he has links to the AfD. Now, the AfD I know very well from being in the European Parliament, so we spent time with the AfD. I'm not sure I would call them extreme in any sense. They are a right-of-centre party. But he is also a psychiatrist. And there's other bits that I just don't understand about this. And I wonder what your thoughts on that, or whether you had any thoughts on his political proclivities and whether that actually has any impact on what happened.
I don't think so. I'm not at this stage. I mean, because it's the investigation needs to take place, and the authorities need to establish all the facts. I mean, I thought what was striking was that I think the Interior Minister, I've forgotten the name, but she sort of was quite quick to come out to say the only thing I can tell you is that this man has, Islamophobic sort of views. And I thought, well, that might be the case, but at the minute, I think it's just far too early to give any kind of detail away. I'm sure people, if he had a social media account, people would be able to find out for themselves, but, you never know on social media who's posing as what and what they're saying is genuine or whatever. So for that particular statement to be made, I thought was a bit rushed and a bit too early.
I would agree with that. I would totally agree with that.
And I can't help but think, making a statement like that on its own, without any kind of, we've got to do all the facts and checking, and that's all. If that's all you can say, I'd rather not say anything, because there is a lot of people now sort of pointing the finger at that particular minister, because there are elections in February, not too far away. And call me a cynic, but working in politics, you've got to be at times. If anybody feels that they're going to be under pressure, using, and I hate to use that word, but it is using a situation rushingly to try and identify a particular person to suggest that they've done something awful and they have a particular view and a particular motive, and using it for political means just in the short term, I think is something that may come back to bite this particular minister if that is the case.
And you're right, of course, they're heading to the polls in February. I think many people in Germany are very frustrated about the economic stagnation. I think across the Eurozone you can see what is actually going on. The infrastructure there, immigration is a huge issue also in Germany, as it is in many European countries as well. There's something else actually that broke last night in terms of this. So trying to understand this man, he worked as a psychiatrist, which came out later. He also became active in Saudi refugee circles. He called himself an ex-Muslim. Now, when you read more about this, other activists then started to warn the authorities, saying he exhibited really erratic behaviour. And when you read more about that, this kind of erratic behaviour, paranoia, aggressiveness, suspicious access to information. He kept questioning whether he was bugged, whether things were going on. Now, with having worked in that field for a while, I'm beginning to wonder, did he have delusions? Did he have hallucinations? Is he exhibiting some sort of paranoid schizophrenia here?
Well, exactly, and that's why all the work that needs to be done should be done before anybody draws conclusions as to the motives and who this individual was. And that's why I don't think, it's helpful for, as I say, ministers in Germany to try and pose that this was some sort of far-right extremist, or that this was a particular individual that had political or religious, anti-religious motivations or anything other. I think that's why you're absolutely right. There could be a whole series of things: mental health, other maybe as I say, motivations, whatever they are. That work has to be done. That has to be concluded before we can draw this sorry saga to a close.
I would agree. And also the front page of The Sun as well this morning, same story, free to kill, again talking about the warnings that Saudi gave to Germany. Let's move on to the front page of the Sunday Telegraph. Here it is. You'll love this one if you're waking up. Net zero grocery tax to push up food bills. So it looks like the government has actually managed to force through legislation, which, by the way, your party decided actually was not a good idea. This was Michael Gove, your friend, I believe, who was involved in that. And actually, when push came to shove, they actually shelved the legislation, thinking it's actually going to be too expensive for the consumer, and rightly so, I would say. But this grocery tax, which essentially is to achieve, dare I say, net zero, will push up household bills, if they're not already high enough, by £1.4 billion a year. Now, no one voted for this net zero nonsense. They have basically quietly passed the legislation, 56 quid going on to household costs annually. Essentially, what they're going to do is charge the retailers, the distributors, the supermarkets per tonne of waste, and they will then push, in terms of the amounts that they're going to charge you, more for plastic than less for cardboard and so on.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have to say, I am a pro-net zero person.
Are you?
I am. However, not in the way in which all of these policies seem to be brought out, which is where it impacts on the cost of consumers and pushing up the bills, household bills of hardworking people. That is not the way that this should be approached. I think and by the way, I wouldn't put a target on net zero. I mean, okay, 2030, 2050 is a good ambition, and I'd like to achieve it just for better air quality, for better health outcomes,
I would agree
for a better
with that.
society.
But you said
not at the cost of consumers. So that's where
so I agree with you. I get a lot of pushback from people because I said, yes, of course, the passage of time, let's say 2050, fine, as long as it doesn't hurt people in the interim. But remember, we're only 1% of global emissions. So we need to deal with China, with India.
Yes.
And, of course, they are benefiting from our madness and our zealotry towards net zero.
And totally. And I absolutely accept that too. I mean, again, maybe my maybe I should turn up as the Grinch today rather than my cynicism. But my cynical view is that I think absolutely you need to get China, India, Brazil, America, obviously these big polluters, big emitters on side if ever you're going to reduce the world's emissions. But I sort of give up on that argument because, I mean, they're going to do what they're going to do. Of course, you've got to put pressure on them and still got to maintain conversation. But, you know, we've got to look at our own in the UK. And I just think for air quality, for me, it's not about global emissions anymore, even though I still want to be part of that conversation to reduce them for, you know, as a society, as a global society, we should be more helpful to each other. But just for UK nationals, I think having good air quality in the UK is good for us. And so, you know, reducing our emissions so we have better air quality is my thinking. But what you don't do to achieve that is punish people at the till through higher food bills and shopping prices.
Just finally talking about punishing people, of course, since the government has been in power, they've upset pretty much everyone that they possibly can, including the farmers. I'm very aware to that, living in Suffolk, where we have a lot of farmers. I don't understand Keir Starmer. He keeps reiterating this line about the majority of farms will be unaffected. It's total nonsense. And talking to farmers, they keep telling me that that is total nonsense. Now, there's another big story in the Telegraph today saying that town halls across the country are in open revolt against the family farm tax. I'm rather loving this, actually. 22 councils, including those where Labour has elected MPs, are saying to the government, you've got this wrong. You absolutely got this wrong. I listened to Keir Starmer at a select committee, and he's saying, well, of course, I'm open to talking to farmers. And then they said, well, would you change your view and your decision? And he said no.
Yes, exactly. I mean, this is what really irritates me, because the NFU, the National Farming Union, say that there's going to be about 70,000 plus farms that are affected. 70,000 across this country. They're small, medium, large, but 70,000 farms. The government and the Treasury say it's only 500. Now, if you're the Prime Minister and you're saying, I'm very happy to talk to the farmers, very happy to talk to the union, well, a meeting must have taken place by now since those protests to establish whether there's somewhere in the middle, whether it is 500, whether it's 75,000, or 70,000 plus, with Treasury officials, with people that have done this sort of scheme, who's come up with this policy to try and work out what it is that's wrong with the But this goes to the heart of this Keir Starmer government, I was about to say Tory government then, that it is stubborn and that it is held on to something that clearly doesn't add up, but they are too afraid or too arrogant, because they've got this overwhelming majority that's been built on sand, to admit defeat or to admit that something is wrong. And they're too shy, I think, because of all the bad press of their own making, to be able to go to the public and say, well, hold our hands up, we have actually got this wrong, there was a miscalculation, we've spoken to the farmers, we've listened to the farmers, we're now going to put it right. That's all they need to do. But they are too determined and dogged not to do that, because they don't want to be seen as...
And if they were to do that, and if they were to turn around to the farmers and say, look, we got this wrong and we're going to U-turn on that, would that be a good Christmas present for you?
It would be a lovely Christmas present for me, and I would love them to then do the same with the winter fuel allowance for pensioners. And they should have done that in the budget. And I think that was a perfect opportunity for Rachel Reeves to say, we've listened, we've learned, we're a new government, we're dealing with a huge 22 billion black hole that they keep saying, which whether that exists or not, again, is up to people to decide. The IFS certainly don't think it exists, neither do I. But, for them to be able to have credibility to say, look, we're trying new things, we're a new government, we're a change from the past, we've made difficult decisions, understand now their implications are worse than maybe what we thought, but we still got to look at difficult decisions, but we understand the feeling that's out there in the public. We're going to U-turn because we're a government for the people. And you could say fair play. That's not to say difficult decisions won't come down the line, because people will recognise, okay, well, if they're going to U-turn on that, if they're not going to go down the path that they wanted to, they're going to have to find it somewhere else. Most people, by the way, in the UK are pretty, grown up and adult enough and know that the government will have to make tough decisions, whoever it is, and will understand and forgive, but you earn respect by perhaps having that engagement with the public. You don't earn respect by slapping on these taxes left, right and centre. Certainly not taxes that you said you're never going to do in the first place, which you end up doing, brackets national insurance contributions, and then going after family farms that keep our food on the table, particularly at Christmas.
I would totally agree. Charlie, thanks. Let me throw that open to you. It got me thinking, actually. What would you like, if you could have anything from the political class for Christmas, what would it be? Would it be the U-turn on employer national insurance contributions, for example? It doesn't actually have to be the Labour Party. It could be any particular party. What would you like from the political class this Christmas? The number 0344 499 1000. You can text the word talk and your message to 87222. You can also message us on X at talkTV. Lots of comments coming in about gingerbread. Charlie, I'll tell you some of those after this break. This is Weekend Breakfast. Good morning.
Bells, Labour smells, Starmers flew away. Rainer mentions tax on second homes that you won't even pay. Hey, jingle bells, Labour smells, Lamb is just insane. I can't wait for Trump, Elon and Farage to save the UK. Whee!
Hey, very good, Red. 5, 4, 3. No, forget it. We're not even going to go there. Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. This is Talk, 6:25 now on Sunday, December the 22nd. Charlie Rowley joins me this morning as a gingerbread man. Dr. David says, Neil Mackett, Charlie is a gingerbread legend.
Oh, thank you.
You've captured the hearts of the nation.
Oh, the public have spoken.
The public have spoken. Good morning, David. Dr. David, this is Carol. You're looking really fab today. What a lovely waistcoat. Very dapper. Thank you very much indeed. Unfortunately, I can't say the same for Charlie, but he has made an effort to. Merry Christmas to you and your wonderful team. Thanks very much, Carol. That's Carol in Shoreham-on-Sea, who's one of our regulars.
Oh, hello, Carol.
Hello, Carol, and happy Christmas to you as well. So many people also getting in touch about my question. What would you like from the political class this Christmas? I would like... This is Steve in Tewkesbury. Good morning, David. I would like Labour to call a general election so we could vote them off the political map. This is Gary. What I want for Christmas is a tangible net zero explanation and plan plan. How are they going to monitor and record the yearly ROI? This is Jackie. Good morning to you, Jackie. If I could get one wish from the political class, it would be their resignations. We can do without politicians, but we cannot do without farmers and food, and that is your point.
Exactly so. And look, I think this government has already had a few months in office to show its true colours, and I think the public are... I mean, it's just a shame that obviously the Tories were so poor in terms of their communications and delivering what they said that they were going to do, that people obviously drove themselves to the Labour Party rather than realising, when lots of people were saying that they're going to do this kind of stuff already, they're going to do this stuff if they come in. So, it's a shame. But that's why there's, I think, a lot of political appetite there for other parties.
So I was also talking about this yet another tax which we're going to pay, the Extended Producer Responsibility Scheme, increasing household bills. So essentially, this is yet another net zero tax. The tax is on manufacturers and retailers for the cost of collecting and disposing of packaging and waste. And essentially, this has been pushed through. Lots of you getting in contact about this. Jackie says, good morning, David. This grocery tax is a massive con. Our plastics are sent to the Philippines, they're sent to Vietnam, they burn the plastic in open air pits. Recycled cardboard uses more energy than virgin cardboard. The whole thing is a Trojan horse to extract more money out of the taxpayer and bankrupt the country. By the way, that's very interesting. Someone messaged me on X or Twitter just to say, and I need to check whether this is true, Keir Starmer sold a 7-acre meadow. OK, he got £400,000 for a 7-acre meadow, if that is true, but he still thinks that the majority of farms are under £1 million.
Well, that
doesn't make sense.
No.
So how can you possibly think that?
Well, quite, and that goes to the heart. If that is the case, it goes to absolutely the heart of who this guy is, where he's sort of, saying either one thing or doing another, and expects people to sort of follow suit. You say whether it's, taking winter fuel allowance from pensioners while getting freebie suits to keep warm over the winter, whether it's glasses. He obviously didn't see that coming, but it's true. He's taking decision by decision as a lawyer. He's not thinking. He's not a politician. It's clearly one rule for one, and for him, and one rule for.
So my fact-checking pixie in there, Tom, has just told me that Keir Starmer, this is right, sold 7 acres of greenbelt land for an estimated £400,000. So how he then thinks the majority of farms are not affected by his tax on farmers, it's just unbelievable. And as you rightly say, he keeps being told what the facts are, and then he says, well, the Treasury says something quite different. But the Treasury is essentially going to be propaganda to prop up what you're saying, isn't it?
Exactly. And I saw a brilliant sort of tweet the other day when the Prime Minister was in front of the liaison committee to say that, he is... Yeah, I did too,
Yeah. Well, it's not something I would normally watch.
what lives we lead.
Popcorn.
But somebody tweeted out, I can't remember who it was, but that basically said they've never seen somebody so happy, the creme de la creme of civil servants in front of civil servants. A former director of public prosecutions was enjoying just this idea of question and answer, where he didn't really answer any questions, and it was all obfuscation and sort of, sticking rigidly to his script. Because you're absolutely right. Politicians are there to challenge this. They're there to create ideas. They want to implement ideas, but they're also to challenge the status quo, to make sure that actually government is delivering what it says it's going to do and gets the outcomes that everybody wants. In terms of this farming tax, he literally, as you've just said, would be assured by the Treasury officials. Well, who are these Treasury officials?
Yes.
Get them in. Ask where the calculations have come from. Have you actually asked somebody in the Treasury? Has Rachel Reeves actually asked whoever is Mr. or Mrs. Farm responsible for the farming tax? Can you just go through these figures one more time? Actually, have you actually spoken to the NFU or farmers about why they are wrong? Why are they telling me it's 75,000 farms that are affected, and why are you telling me it's only 500? Something doesn't add up. And by the way, when something doesn't add up, it's up to the civil service and to ministers to go and fix the problem.
It is. Very quickly, I just want to mention this, which is Donald Trump, obviously, and the fact we saw Peter Mandelson as the new ambassador to the United States. Well, US President-elect Donald Trump has appointed British TV producer Mark Burnett. Now, Mark Burnett is a bit of a genius, created The Apprentice. He is a TV guru. Now, Donald Trump obviously owes a lot to The Apprentice because it brought him to a whole new generation of Americans, because he obviously was the guy that you went to with your business idea, like Lord Sugar was in this country. I just thought it was a very odd appointment, isn't it?
Well, it's unconventional and it's out of the blue, and much like many other Donald Trumps.
Trump wrote on social media, he said he's won 13 Emmys. Right.
Well, you know,
does that make you a great envoy?
Perhaps not. I mean, it depends on his approach and how he, you know, if he's skilled as a business person through the creative industries, then it might just be someone that's got a business acumen that can challenge the Labour government back here. But I think President Trump the relationship he has obviously with a certain Nigel Farage, who I think would rightly be, if ever there was an awards, politician of the year. You know, there's a brilliant piece, by the way, I know we'll come to the papers, but Kate Ferguson has got a column in The Sun, basically saying, 4 million votes, 5 MPs, and being the ear of the president-elect, not bad for a newcomer.
Not bad at all. I mean, I need to be careful what I say. Obviously. I know I have vested interests, and I know the people involved. Charlie, thanks for the moment. We'll take a break. After the break, I'll take you through all of this morning's front pages. This is Weekend Breakfast, 3 days to go until Christmas. Good morning.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, 6:35 now on Sunday, December the 22nd. The gingerbread man, Charlie Rowley, joins me this morning. By the way, on that note, Darren says, I would love Charlie as my gingerbread man for Christmas.
Well, there you go. There you are. Is that an invitation or is that a...
I don't know.
I need you.
You're speechless.
I am.
Lots of other messages coming in. Carol says, David, what I'd like from the political class is for Nigel to take his rightful place as our Prime Minister. Total support to our farmers. Thanks for that. Obviously, I've mentioned Darren there. This is quite good. Anna in Surrey says, David, my Christmas wish is that every time a politician speaks, they should be wired up to a lie detector. And maybe Jezza Kyle could sort this out for us. I saw him the other night, actually. So I shall mention that when I see him next. This also, Bill in Cheshire, good morning, one of our regulars. Bill says, I would like Starmer and his gang of liars to take part in a live televised programme where they all have to take a lie detector test. The questions have been posed by talkTV viewers and listeners. Well said. Now, lots of others getting in touch about net zero and the fact that the whole thing is basically being fiddled. Keep all of those coming in. Dean in Dagenham also says, good morning, David. Net zero is another globalist scam. Every one of the founder members of Greenpeace say the same. It's part of the plan to impoverish and control the people of the world. That's the question I'm asking. What would you like for Christmas this year from the political class. It can be anything, actually. It could be Labour, it could be Conservatives, it could be Reform, it could be, what are the other party called? Lib Dems, that's it. It could be any of those. It could be any of those. What would you like for Christmas from the political class? Let me know, please. 0344 499 1000. This call's charged at the national rate. Also, you can text the word talk in your message to 87222. You can message us on X as well. Let's just take you through the front pages this morning. Let's start, if we can, with the Sunday Times. We mentioned this at the beginning of the programme. This sort of broke yesterday. It's in multiple papers this morning. The headline: Germany given multiple warnings by Saudi Arabia over the market killer. Saudi Arabia says it repeatedly warned the German government about the extremist views of the man who drove a car into the Christmas market, killing at least 5 people, including a 9-year-old, and injuring hundreds more. This is Taleb Abdul Muhsin, a 50-year-old doctor. He arrived in Germany in 2006 from the Middle Eastern country. More than 200 people taken to 15 hospitals, 41 seriously injured. It is feared the death toll will continue to rise. Charlie rightly said that actually Germany is facing sort of enormous political turmoil. Olaf Scholz lost that vote of confidence. The AfD is rising. The AfD is now polling at 19%. There's SDP on 17, CDU at 31%. And I still maintain that this story, there's still stuff we don't really understand about this story, whether he is a radical right-winger, whether he is an anti-Muslim. He himself was Muslim. He then rescinded that religion. But also, my supposition is that given what I've been reading, there are definitely sort of... There could be evidence of delusions, hallucinations. You know, is this man mentally ill? And that's the headline on the Sunday Times. The Sun on Sunday, another sister publication, Free to Kill. They are saying 3 warnings over the Christmas market maniac. This man, apparently, the German authorities, this is reiterating what we learnt from the Sunday Times, German authorities were warned 3 times by Saudi about this doctor, including the plot to murder. Apparently, they included disturbing posts that something big will happen in Germany, in inverted commas. This is where the story moves on. Britain is now on high alert for copycat killers. And there are a lot of questions here about also, how did he get into the middle of a market? It appears that the market was by a tram line that allowed him to drive a car. And someone was saying to me yesterday that at Christmas markets in this country, you're seeing armed police.
Yes, and I think there's, particularly in Germany, I think there were some bollards that were not in place when they should have been. And I think that, how on earth that came about and whether that's actually right, and that allowed the car to obviously penetrate where the public are sort of walking around. But you're absolutely right. It is a sorry sight that it is now common. If you go to a Christmas market or any kind of Christmas activity, festive venture today, you're going to see armed police. Now, I obviously welcome that because you want to keep the public safe. If that's what needs to happen, then OK, we have to accept that. I don't want them sort of, at every mulled wine store or hut or whatever. You want them in the background, but obviously a visible presence to deter anyone that's going to cause you harm. But the idea that where we are, where that is even needed, is an awful situation to be in. But that is just on the back of the rise of all the hate that goes on, online harms, people that want to do us harm in the Western world. And, for too long, maybe we haven't talked about it. We haven't talked about maybe the lack of integration. We haven't talked about people that have
I think that's a really important point.
Yeah, I think it's true.
I think we're increasingly living parallel lives.
Yes. And look, there are benefits to immigration. Let's be honest about that. Some immigration, where it's needed. I don't think anybody would have an argument about a particular worker that maybe is working in the NHS. If it's a life or death situation, I don't actually care where they come from. I want the care and the treatment.
But you have to adopt British values.
But you have to adopt British. If you come into this country, of course we want you to speak the language. But it's beyond that now. And I think this is what Kemi Badenoch, I don't want to get too political about it, but, she did touch on something during her leadership campaign where she said that there are some cultures that are not equal to others. And I do think what she was getting at is that there are people that are born in this country now that are British, who are second, third generation of people that might have immigrated to the country, that still hold different views to what are Western British values, whether it's, forced marriage or arranged marriage in particular religions or cultures. That is wrong. And I think that's what she was saying in that sense. And it is equally wrong that even if you are British and born in this country, country. The idea that you want to, or if you get lulled into a sense of anti-Western views and go down the rabbit hole of the dark web, and then start to cause us harm or start to preach hate against, people in this country or this country as a whole, I think then, something has to be done about that group of people. And because it just rises, it causes rise to hate, and hate leads on to acts, kind of the acts that we've seen in Germany and what we don't want to see repeated here in the UK.
I think that has enormous resonance up and down the country this morning as people are waking up. Let's move on to the Sunday Telegraph now. Net zero grocery tax to push up the food bills. Yes, that's right. More net zero nonsense. This is the extended producer responsibility scheme. It was shelved under the Conservative Party. Labour has resurrected it, being quietly passed. It means basically you're going to be paying more for your food. The Mail on Sunday, the Grinch Reeves steals 45% of your donations to charities. This is according to charities. This is, as Charlie was saying, Labour repeatedly pledged, did they not? We are not going to put up tax, national insurance and VAT, and then promptly put up national insurance. Oh, no, it's not national insurance, it's employer national insurance. Well, everyone else thought that was national insurance. So, anyway, Rachel Reeves was dubbed the Grinch last night as it was revealed her budget tax grab means that every £1 you give to a charity, 45p of that now goes away from that charity. So the charities are up in arms about this. It will add £1.4 billion to wage bills in the struggling voluntary sector. They say they're going to have to lay off staff. This is quite an interesting one for me because I've worked with a lot of charities. I think sometimes the charities are far too top-heavy. There are too many administrators in charities. They live in very plush buildings, many of them. For example, in Regent's Park, let's not name that particular charity. But I do think, when people give £1, they expect the majority of that £1 to go to the charity.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, people understand that it's got to go to... An element of it has to go to staff and resource, whatever. But if you're paying for a particular charity, of course, you're absolutely right. You want that money to go on the actual research or the delivery or support for those that charity is supporting.
Sunday Express this morning, we're living in an increasingly unstable world, so the government's idea, great idea, cuts force HMS Queen Elizabeth out of action. This is one of our newest warships. Of course, Britain will just have one lone aircraft carrier to deploy if we're attacked by a hostile power like Russia due to budget cuts. So we've got the HMS Prince of Wales, the bigger HMS Queen Elizabeth, which had tons of problems with them. But nevertheless, essentially what they're going to do is downgrade the Queen Elizabeth so that you need 6 months' notice to take her to sea. I mean, I can hardly imagine that Russia's going to say, well, by the way, chaps, we'll give you 6 months' notice. Do you want to, de-mothball the Queen Elizabeth?
Yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous, isn't it? And terrifying. I mean, if it wasn't so, funny in one sense, we'd be sort of, in
but
tears.
how much? But we spent 3.5 billion quid on this, and now we've decided we're not going to use it.
Yeah, and people will be asking for what? I mean, I have been on HMS.
Have you?
I have.
What's it like?
I was big. It's a big vessel.
It is a big. Was it amazing?
It was. Yes, yeah, and we had a very sort of a little tour of it. It was impressive. In fact, it was the only time when HMS Queen Elizabeth and the Prince were side by side in Portsmouth before one went off on a mission. I think it was Prince of Wales went off on some...
before the propeller brake came out.
Yes. I mean, it's impressive stuff, bit of kit, but pointless if you're then... can't use it until...
Well, the issue is they can't crew it either, I think. And that's a much bigger conversation about why Gen Z or some of the younger generations don't want to go into the forces.
Yes. I mean, it's there is a recruitment problem, but we've got to make sure that we are ready as a UK to defend ourselves in whatever situation when needed.
Just very quickly, let's finish the papers this morning. The Observer: ministers resist the rush to block Musk millions going to Farage. Really interesting story. This, of course, Nigel Farage posing with Elon Musk and also Nick Candy at Mar-a-Lago. Nigel sort of rattling the cage and saying, well, look, Musk may give us 100 million or whatever, of course. And then suddenly all of these political bodies, oh, hang on a minute, very unhappy about this. But what they're saying is that we don't want to rush to block this because it will backfire, and then Reform will have more sort of support from the general public. And I think that's just quite an interesting line. Let's move on. The Mirror: Talisa, my secret jungle breakdown, don't care. Sorry. Really interesting story in the Daily Star. Ronnie Craig killed Marilyn Marilyn Monroe. I don't know if you read this morning. A buddy of brutal Ronnie Craig claims the gangster killed Marilyn Monroe on the orders of the US Mafia. This is the former PR man reckons he heard the shocking confession from Ronnie himself. She died at the age of 36 at her home in LA. And this chap, Campbell, claims Cray was paid in gold bars by Mafia boss Meyer Lansky, which was sent with a thank you note. Wow. Those are this morning's front pages. So this morning, I'm asking, what would you like for Christmas from the political class? The number 0344 499 1000. The call's charged at the national rate. You can text the word talk in your message to 87222. You can also message us on X at talkTV about anything you like, whether it's about the Queen Elizabeth, whether it's about policy in this country, net zero. It could be about the vision, the optimism for this country going forward. What would you like for Christmas from the political class? We'll take a break. After the break, Charlie has some stories that he's picked out that we'll go through after this short break. This is Talk. Good morning.
If you watch the abysmal proceedings by the Public Accounts Committee yesterday, you saw all these people who've wasted not the figure you did, but nearer 100 billion, stand there having lied to successive Public Accounts Committees over the years and saying, oh, we're going to reset it, and from now on, we who have messed it up are going to make it all right again. I mean, I've never seen anything more ridiculous in my life.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. 6:50 Sunday, December the 22nd. 3 sleeps to go until Christmas, of course. Happy Christmas to you, Rabina. I know you're watching as well. One of our loyal listeners and viewers, actually. I spoke to Rabina not very long ago. So, hi, Rabina. Hope you're very well. This from my dad was a toolmaker. Hi, David. There are only 1,438 sleeps until reform forms a government, Charlie. And David Billing says, I'm going to make myself a chart today and I will start ticking off those days. Julie Moore Maltby, good morning to you. I love the waistcoat and tie, Dave. Glad to see Charlie Rowley. Fantastic. Once again, happy Christmas to all of you at Talk TV. Thanks very much for that. Keep all of those messages coming in, please. Dead as a Dodo, who messages me quite frequently, good morning to you. Stop talking about political class, David. It's like you're giving them authority they do not deserve. Lots of other people getting in touch saying you're loving the backdrop. This is just my home, actually. I'm just relaxing in front of a fire, Christmas tree, nothing. As you can see, very festive, Charlie.
This is very festive. This is Christmas personified. I think this really is ideal.
And everyone needs a gingerbread man.
Everybody needs. There's so many things I can say.
Yeah, there are.
But
Please don't.
Yes.
Let's move on to the Sun. You've chosen this story, which is an interesting one. Under 30s EU mobility scheme on the card. Tell us more.
So there's a question now, having left the EU, the UK voted to leave the EU in 2016, obvious factors that are point out to remind people, but ever since the Labour government have come in, and they've always opted for this reset with the EU, and that includes freedom of movement. Now, I think this is an interesting one because I think one of those challenging parts of Brexit, particularly when I was in government, when I was a minor junior advisor in the back office, the under 30 Erasmus scheme. So this is about young people being able to, under 30, the age of 30 from the UK, being able to travel to Europe, and European young people being able to come to the UK. It was a difficult one because I think we don't want to be seen to be punishing people. You certainly don't want to take away things from people that, the benefits that you already had. I think the point of Brexit was having the best of both worlds, still having all the good stuff, as well as taking back control of our money, borders and laws for all the obvious reasons. So it has been a difficult topic. However, this government, in terms of resets with the EU, has now included this scheme to be back on the table, but it isn't just about under 30s being able to travel freely. It's about being able to work here, to study here, so to stay for a long period of time, which then obviously includes EU regulation, and therefore with EU regulation, you're back into the EU through the back door, and there's obviously a lot of people that will disagree with this scheme fundamentally. For what it's worth, I actually do want to see maybe the opportunity for young people, if they had it before, to come to the UK, for UK nationals to obviously go to see France, Germany, Spain, Italy, to learn the history, but without any kind of overreach from the EU, without any...
But you see, there is your problem,
yes,
because the EU will overreach.
Yes.
And there's a great article by Freddie Gray in The Spectator talking about that any idea that the EU is going to be soft on Britain is a fool's errand.
Yes, yeah, and that probably is true. And so I'm just maybe in my, mulled wine, sort of merry sort of idealism, sort of, or idealistic.
You have mulled wine already? It's very early.
I haven't actually.
No.
Later on, we'll go later.
We'll send Tom.
But it does, the Tories have pushed back on it and said, look, Keir Starmer's renegotiated everything, messed up his negotiations from the Chengos Island all the way through to obviously reneging on farmers and national insurance contributions and protecting pensioners. He's now reneging on Brexit, and I think that will cause a lot of alarm for many people that voted for it.
I totally agree with that. Now, let's talk about teachers, because you picked this story as well.
Yes, I have. There is the Education Secretary, Bridget Phillipson, is suggesting that teachers could work from home. Now, she says that they can do lesson planning and lesson marking, the times that they do that, as if that takes a day, in a sense that you're doing that just for a day that you can work at home is ridiculous. I mean, you'd be marking and lesson planning in between other lessons. I would have thought you'd be teaching. And, you can work maybe from home from 3:30 in the afternoon when you finish your day. Potentially.
Well, they would argue they don't finish their day at 3:30.
Well, that is the, but, if you, I just think that there is this approach to teaching in this country that I think has gone totally backwards. Teachers need to be in the classroom more than ever when we've gone through such a pandemic where kids have missed out, obviously. In
also the number of kids who actually aren't attending school, I think, should have been a bigger priority for the government, actually, to make sure that kids are in schools. It's important. Just very quickly, if we can, tell us about the rise of the lurgy liars.
Well, yes, this is in the Star, page 9, for those that want to read the full article. It says that 1 in 10 of us, almost 1 in 10 of us, will say that we're not feeling very well, or we're a bit under the weather, to avoid friends in general times, and family at Christmas.
And family.
And I might be with the public on the latter. I might be, slightly one of those 1 in 10. I mean, families are funny at Christmas, aren't they? You know, particularly if you're, you know, single at 34, dressed as a gingerbread man.
Yes,
I mean, you know,
are you wearing that on Christmas Day?
I'm
you got a different outfit?
I might be wearing something. No, I might have to go and get another if this is too
it's a hit.
It's a But I just think, do you need to pull a sickie? Can't people just be open and honest and say, look, I don't want to come down for Christmas, or I'm not doing Christmas, or I'm doing a different Christmas this year, you know? But it is a bit of a cop-out.
Well, so I was listening, I was talking to fellow broadcasters who are basically saying to their families, I'll go early on and then say I have to go back because I'm doing an early shift.
Yes.
And these are grown men and women.
Yes, well, I mean, because people don't want to let people down, do they? But so I understand that. But, you know, pulling a sickie is quite...
But I think the problem starts when people have a drink, and we were talking about Debrett's and what you should do. Debrett's has issued advice as to what to do over Christmas. When you start veering into politics with your aunt, who might be diametrically opposed to you, and you're being fueled by more and more wine and more vociferous in your opinions, and how you as the host deviate from that and try and get the family back on track. I mean, there's always one.
Yes. Oh, yes. They're quite right. And I mean, and it can work at the other end of the spectrum. If you've got young kids love Christmas, I know. But if they're particularly young, where, you know, you're just going to be left in the corner holding the crying baby, well, I think I'd rather stay at home as well, actually.
Drinking sherry, holding the baby. Charlie, thanks for the moment. Lots of you getting in touch. Jackie, good morning to you. Merry Christmas. You keep us sane. So I'm asking this morning, what would you like for Christmas from the political class? Lots of you getting in touch about this. So Jackie says, I would like to remind MPs to work for us, not against us, and to remember that they are actually there to do our bidding. As soon as they're elected, they just seem to stop listening to the people who elected them. This rabble are not as bad as I feared. You ain't seen nothing yet, as the song says. That is Jackie. Thanks for that. David. Good morning, Dr. David. That, David, has to be my favourite waistcoat. Thank you. I've been saving it, actually.
It is very nice,
well,
honestly. I know, I do like it. It's very nice.
Thank you. It's better than the green one. Anyway, it makes me incandescent with rage when people go on about how taxes need to rise as the country hasn't got any money. Why not spend according to the funds available instead of hosing it around on vanity virtue signalling projects? Tell Ed Miliband that. Public sector pay rises. Miliband's, you mentioned it, Miliband's completely mad, net zero. Billions given away to foreign countries for climate change. The whole thing is beyond ridiculous. Sean in Gloucester. Actually, just remembering back to Margaret Thatcher, she talked about managing her budget according to what was in her purse, didn't she?
Yes, and that's what many people do up and down the country. People understand, look, if you haven't got the money, if you can't pay for something, then obviously you've either got to save or you've got to, you work and save, and then you be able to afford what it is that you want. But household budgets, yeah, absolutely. Margaret Thatcher was on the money. And I think that's how people will still see a government operating today. They'll look at this government and say, well, hold on, you're borrowing, you're spending, we haven't got the money, you're raising taxes, you're
and they're going to do it again.
Where's all this money coming from? And they're going to do
it's coming from you and me and everyone.
Well, I'm off. Let's go. Come on.
Come on then. Shut the door behind you. Thanks, Charlie, for the moment. So much more still to come. We're going to go through some more of the big stories this morning. Also, are you panicking before Christmas? We've got some really good ideas for some tech gadgets. We're following on from what Davis did yesterday. Fevzi Turkout will be with us to talk about that, and also some other gift ideas in case you are actually panicking ahead of the big day for Christmas. This is Weekend Breakfast. Keep watching.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is...
Hello, a very good morning to you. It's just after 7 o'clock on Sunday, December the 22nd. I'm David Bull, sitting at home, enjoying the festive spirit. I hope you're in the mood for Christmas. Thanks very much for your company this morning. Great news if you are just waking up. Today is Short Person Day, a day that celebrates those people who come in small packages.
Hi-ho, it's home from work we go.
Also, happy birthday to Ralph Fiennes. Now, he's an award-winning actor, ambassador for UNICEF. He also has Serbian citizenship. Who knew? He turns 62 today. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear.
Oh,
Happy birthday to you. Ding pong.
ding pong. Lovely. So melodic. Also, just 3 days to go until Christmas.
Another round of eggnog, please.
Absolutely. Actually, I've tried eggnog. I hated it. It's disgusting. Anyway, let's move on to today's fascinating fact, shall we?
Today's fascinating facts.
So some new ones for you this hour. On this day in 1973, Elton John started a 2-week run and #1 on the UK chart with the album Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. The album featured the song Candle in the Wind that was later rewritten after the death of Princess Diana. On this day in 1997, I remember this actually very vividly, an independent inquiry into the BSE disaster and the devastation it wreaked on British farming was announced by the government. And on this day, 24 years ago, in 2000, the American singer Madonna married British filmmaker Guy Ritchie at an exclusive ceremony in Skibo Castle near Dormach in Sutherland, hours after their son was christened. And those are today's fascinating facts.
It's that time of year, the lights are shining bright. David, Bull, and Charlie making mornings feel right. Tom, Dave, Tommy, and Titus join the fun. Decked out in hats, spreading joy to everyone.
Wow, everyone gets a mention. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Tech Op Dave, he's been busy all night making those jingles. So very good morning to you. This is Weekend Breakfast. Not long to go, actually, until the big day. We are continuing. By the way, Charlie Rowley has outdone himself this year because he has come dressed as a gingerbread man. Now, Neil says, I've just switched on, I have to say, Charlie's jumper has brightened up my day. It's not a jumper, is it?
Well, it's not quite.
Do you want to just show? Do you want to show Neil because he's obviously just switched on?
Only for you, Neil, because it's Christmas.
Can you?
I will. Can I? Is this all?
It's visible. Yes, it's visible. So he is actually a full gingerbread man, and congratulations for that. I'm asking this morning, what would you like for Christmas from the political class? It could be anything. Truth. Some honesty. How about that for a starter? Not to renege on your promises. That would be up there in terms of my wish list. Let's be serious for a moment. Let's look at the front pages of the papers this morning. If you are just waking up, the Sunday Times this morning. This is about Magdeburg. Germany given multiple warnings by Saudi over the market killer. There's a lot we don't know here. Speculation that he was supporting the AfD, which is a right-of-centre party in Germany, which is increasing in the polls. He says he is no longer a Muslim. There's a lot of discussion about what his motivation was. I was speculating that there's a lot of talk about his erratic behaviour, paranoid thoughts. Does he have some sort of underlying schizophrenia? I don't know. But that is a story that we are watching. This is the front page of the Sunday Telegraph. Already many of you very upset about this. Net zero grocery tax to push up food bills yet again. This is the government. They have forced through the legislation that the Conservatives turned down. Essentially what this means is they are going to make retailers pay more money to dispose of waste. They're going to clobber them if it's plastic and clobber them a little less if it is cardboard. But the ultimate aim of this is that the consumer will pay more money. When they were pushed on this, they said, oh, we think that essentially we are going to, about 60% will go to the consumer. It now turns out it's going to be more like 85% will go to the consumer. So good news, you're going to spend more money on your groceries. Gary, good morning to you. The government, David, is spending like drunken sailors. And this goes back to your point, Charlie, which is actually you should spend within your means. Let's just talk about Magdeburg, though, just quickly. Olaf Scholz now promising an investigation after a car drove into the crowds. 200 people injured. We know that this is a 50-year-old psychiatrist. I mean, we talked about this an hour ago, but it's still very muddy. I think we need to wait for the facts. But the political situation, I think it's fair to say, in Germany is pretty tense. There are elections coming up. I mentioned the rise of the AfD there, and it has been pretty meteoric, that rise.
It has, and I think that's because whatever your political views and whatever the outcome of the investigation that takes place into why this particular individual did obviously what he has done, for too long, Western governments, particularly in Europe, including in the UK, have failed to tackle the issues that people care about, which is integration and immigration. And I think when you suppress that for such a long time, the view doesn't go away. Or if you're preached to by said governments, I mean, even, I remember back as far as, was it a few years ago under Angela Merkel, where there was this huge swathes of people coming into Germany.
Well, she opened the borders.
She opened the border, which, a lot of people were up in arms about, and rightly so, because you don't know who's coming into the country, you don't know how the integration is going to go, you don't know what those people are going to do here in the first place. And that gives rise to, obviously, if you don't deal with the issue, if you don't talk about it openly and if you don't tackle it, if you don't do what you actually say you're going to do, which is to allow certain people in or have control over your borders, then of course people will look to extremes or alternative parties that are actually going to do what they say they're going to do. So whatever the motivations in this particular case, the rise of the AfD and the rise of other parties where central governments have failed in the past is precisely because of that reason.
I mentioned this morning this story about them not rushing. The political class is very concerned about the funding of reform, reform doing better in the polls, and it just strikes me that, and I mentioned this article that Freddie Gray had written in The Spectator, and essentially all of these, the great and the good, saying, we need to tighten up our electoral laws to make sure that Elon Musk can't donate through a UK subsidiary, which is totally allowed. But at the same time, you have to remember Keir Starmer, very close to some big businesses. I mean, certainly he is close to BlackRock, Larry Fink, the CEO. So it seems to me that it's OK for money to come in to the mainstream parties, but it's not OK if it goes to reform.
Exactly. And just as good as the number 10 Labour Party comms have been so far, they've done it again because they've openly admitted, well, we can't be seen to be sort of shutting this down because that'll just give rise to Nigel. And you know what? It absolutely would, because it is one rule for, again, mainstream parties and one rule for the new kid on the block.
And this is the front page of The Observer. Ministers resist the rush to block Musk, millions going to Farage. So they've obviously realised they've got a problem.
Oh, totally. And I think that they're right to. And this is politics. There'll be a lot of people, a lot of MPs, new Labour MPs in either red wall seats or seats where reform came second, that should be putting pressure on Sir Keir Starmer to say, look, we've got farmers, or we've got immigration problems, or we've got an economy that isn't working, or you're freezing our pensioners by taking away their interval allowance. Keir Starmer and number 10 really do need to pay attention to his backbench MPs, where there is the breath being felt down the back of their next time reform.
Also, if you look back, Boris Johnson had an 80-seat majority, and then suddenly, woof, it disappears, and very quickly.
And the volatility in politics, in the UK politics, is such that people won't give you a second chance, and they are, they've given Labour an opportunity because the Tories failed to deliver on what they said they were going to do, particularly around immigration. The idea that Labour, it really is, and I'm not saying this as somebody from, the centre-right, or if you are a Labour advisor today, from advisor to a former advisor to another advisor, I would absolutely don't rely on that majority. It was built on sand. The turnout was low. People did not come out in their drones to vote for Labour for what you're offering in terms of your manifesto. Nobody read your manifesto. They were just so fed up with the Tories that they voted for you to get us out.
And that's a brilliant point. No one actually read their manifesto, and actually the manifesto it was nothing like what they've actually delivered.
Exactly.
Their polls are part. Let me just... there's another article as well, and I mentioned this earlier. Starmer's reset with the EU is a fool's errand, and I think think this is absolutely right, because the TCA, the Trade and Cooperation Agreement, which came into force in 2021, is reviewed every 5 years, so we're running up to that. So just in terms of that, there is a concerted effort, and it's complicated this, to improve the Windsor Framework. Now, I've always been against the Windsor Framework for lots of reasons, but notably because it carves the UK up and puts a border in the Irish Sea, and then you've got this fiddle over a green lane and a red lane, and you've got Northern Ireland, which has to abide by EU law, but of course then the rest of the United Kingdom doesn't. So essentially, we've annexed Northern Ireland and ignored those people in Northern Ireland, which I think is unforgivable. But when you are dealing with the EU, I think Keir Starmer is naive to believe he can pull the wool over their eyes.
Definitely, definitely. And again, I don't want to go into too much, because it's not about me. I didn't say I was just a bag carrier, junior advisor at the time. But I do remember meetings when I was at the Cabinet Office, when I was working for Michael Gove, and obviously there were lots of conversations with him and David Frost, Lord Frost, who obviously was having the negotiations with, said Michel Barnier, who was not going to give anything in terms of negotiation, and was very truculent and very tough to negotiate with. So I think you're absolutely right. It is naive to suggest that all of a sudden the UK is going to get everything that it wants. And I think you're to your first point about the Windsor, you're right. For all of the faults of Theresa May and her deal, at least that border was not carving out Northern Ireland. I'm afraid under Boris's deal that did carve out Northern Ireland, I'm afraid. But we are where we are. But I think there is an opportunity for, I wouldn't call it a reset, but once you leave a club, of course, there's going to be maybe ill will on both sides. Time is a healer in every relationship. So I think there is time for those emotions that have now subsided to us to actually have a conversation about...
But actually the dynamics have changed, because Germany, and going back, and that's why this links in, Germany has realised the problem is the EU. France is realising the problem is the EU. More EU doesn't solve the ills of the European nations.
No, but that doesn't exist. You're absolutely right. The EU does not. But you can have cooperation with your European allies, and we've got to do that.
But without a federal Europe.
But without a federal, unelected presidents or several presidents, where your money's going to an unelected parliament, effectively, all of that has to go. But I do think there's an opportunity post-Brexit to us to actually now get on terms of get on board with bilateral conversations again with state by state.
And just very quickly, what do you think of Peter Mandelson's appointment? Because he's now sort of changed his rhetoric. He's saying, well, we can have our cake and eat it. We can do deals with the EU, and we can do deals with the United States. Well, that would be great if we can.
Yeah, I mean, if we can. I mean, I wish him all the best. He's a serial political operator. He's, returned time and time again.
He's been fired a few times.
He's been fired a few times. I mean, I think he is humble enough, actually. The one thing I do notice about Peter Mandelson, he's humble enough now to know that some of the things that he might have said in the past about Trump were wrong. He's got to acknowledge that Trump is a powerful figure, and he's going to work with... And I think he's been open to say that Keir Starmer and Labour need to get behind the Trump factor. Otherwise, it's just going to be all reform doing the negotiation through Nigel, because that's where the relationship lies.
And I mentioned this yesterday. He even says that there could be a role for Nigel Farage here. And actually, if the Labour government had been clever, and I said this yesterday, that you would have muted Nigel Farage if you'd appointed him to some sort of role, or if you'd elevated him to the upper house. You could have got rid of the problem.
Exactly.
But they're not. But they won't do that.
They won't do that. But the acknowledgement of Nigel Farage by the Labour Party and by Lord Mandelson in particular, I think is significant.
I do too. Just very quickly, I want to just talk to you about toothy toadstools. More than 170 fungi in plants previously unknown to science have been named for the first time in 2024. I don't know if we got a picture of our toothy toadstools, we'll get one for you. But essentially, it's just quite interesting. This is in the Royal Botanic Gardens in Kew. I had no idea they were discovering all of these species all of the time. Just the sheer numbers, 2,500 new plants, 2,500 fungi each year. Apparently, there are as many as 100,000 plant species left to find, with 2 to 3 million fungi.
Yes. Well, I'm slightly sort of sceptical about this one, because I'm not sure. I mean, not that I have any qualification or any kind of... But I wonder if it's a bit like sort of, how many genders are there? How many sort of... is it a sort of, this could be a daffodil, but because it's only got, less petals, it's a...
I'm not an expert on it.
It's something else. Do you know what I mean? We keep labelling things. It could just be a, not all leopards have, the same amount of spots.
All right, well, we'll see. If you're an expert, do get in touch, please, and put Charlie in his box about that. Let's talk about White Christmas. We're not having one. Yellow wind warnings are in place this weekend. We're going to be talking about this in a minute, actually, with Simon Calder. We'll be doing that at about 8 o'clock in 45 minutes, just to tell you about the roads. If you are getting away this Christmas, what to avoid, what's going on. By the way, lots of strikes. Network Rail, of course, so don't bother going on the railway a lot of the time. Simon will tell you in detail at 8 o'clock what's going on. But you're going to be disappointed. Apparently it's going to be very mild this Christmas.
Oh.
So you're going to boil in that.
Well, yes. I quite like... it doesn't have to... I don't mind a white Christmas. Everybody likes a white Christmas, but I like it cold because it's festive.
So do I.
I don't think I could do...
Well, also, so the net zero fanatics will hate me because I like a log fire.
Well, that's okay. That's okay.
Of course it's okay. It's what you do, isn't it?
Yes, of course it is. You're allowed a bit of fun.
So I'll have the door open and a fire on. Well, no, because it will be too hot, won't it?
Well, it will be too. Yes.
So there you go. Charlie, thanks for the moment. Sharon Miller says, I love when Charlie Rowley is on talkTV panel because he talks so much sense. So do you, David. Thank you.
Thank you
very much for that. Sharon in Staffordshire, good morning, Dr. Bull. Another waistcoat. I do like that, and I love Charlie's outfit. What would I like from the political class? That's my question this morning. I want for all of them to get lost and let Nigel Farage run this country. Just one more, different view. James in Manchester, good morning to you. Good morning, Dr. David. I think the Labour government needs to hold steadfast to the decisions they have made. If we are all completely honest, we would say we have given Labour a harder time than they deserve, would we? Let's give Starmer our backing and back his plan for growth. James in Manchester, a different opinion there. Keep all of those coming in, please. What would you like for Christmas from the political class? The number 03444991000. Those calls are charged at the national rate. You can text the word talk in your message to 87222. Also message us on X as well. Right, we'll take a break. After the break, many people still panicking. By the way, the amount of money about to be spent tomorrow, Manic Monday, I think it's going to be called, in the run-up to Christmas, is going to be not inconsiderable. After the break, I'm going to be talking to the gadget detective. This is Fevzi Turkalp, about some ideas for Christmas. Actually, yesterday, Davis Fang told us some tech ideas, which did really well. In fact, I had messages from people saying we solved some Christmas quandaries. So they bought tech items after his item. And so Fevzi will be here after the break to tell us about some tech and gadget ideas. If you're wondering what to buy, those special people in your life, that's all still to come here on Weekend Breakfast. Don't go anywhere.
if you watch the abysmal proceedings by the Public Accounts Committee yesterday, you saw all these people who've wasted not the figure you did, but nearer 100 billion, stand there having lied to successive Public Accounts Committees over the years and saying, oh, we're going to reset it, and from now on, we who have messed it up are going to make it all right again. I mean, I've never seen anything more ridiculous in my life.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. This is Talk 7:23 on Sunday, December the 22nd. We're taking things very seriously. Christmas approaching. Charlie Rhodey dressed as a gingerbread man. Vinny, good morning to you. Vincent says, I need a nice bow tie to go with this. I thought the tie worked quite well, but...
I think it looks very nice.
Thank you
I
very
think
much.
you'd be welcome at my house. We have a colour theme every year.
Do you?
Yes, Mum, when she sort of lays the table, so it's either gold or silver with either blue or red and
what
gold.
is this year?
Do you know what? That's a very good question.
need to dress code.
It might be green. It might be green.
That's controversial.
Green and gold or something like that, or which is interesting choices. So I'll see.
OK. So some pushback on net zero. Please ask Charlie. This is Brian in Daventry. Good morning. Brian says, please could you ask Charlie, where has he encountered poor air quality recently, and should we pursue it ad infinitum?
Well, I'll tell you where, Brian. It's on the tube in central London. The air quality down there is worse than it is outside of the tube, which is why...
It's underground, of course it is.
Well, yes, but you would expect, you would want it to be better air quality, but it's got...
It was built hundreds of years ago, or 100 years ago.
But it's got worse in comparison to, you know, introducing this ULEZ nonsense, which just obviously creates, I think, more pollution because you've got people in 20 mile an hour sort of traffic non-stop compared to... So there is bad air quality underground, which I think needs to be tackled.
OK.
But you know, London. I mean, London quality air is worse than
It's
it
never
is
been
in-
cleaner.
Is well compared to
When I first came to London when I was 18.
to Suffolk or
No,
Hertfordshire.
I mean, I came to London when I was
eight.
18. The air quality is much better now.
Well, that's good news. But I mean,
Right, let's move on. Are you struggling for last-minute Christmas presents? Well, this man may have the answer. This is our gadget detective, Fevzi Turkal, who is editor of GadgetDetective.com, host of the Gadget Detective podcast. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you too. Now, you are jumping to people's aid here, aren't you? You've sent me a list of some fantastic gadgets. Where do you want to start?
Yeah, well, what I want to explain is I've tried to take the stress out of it for people. So I've picked the best gadget in each category. I've picked ones that are at good price, and I've checked and they're all available to deliver before Christmas. So
wow, mate, well done.
As we speak.
Well,
you'll have to be quick. Okay,
so just on that, in terms of ordering, you have to really order today, do you?
Yeah, well, some of them you might get away with tomorrow. If you get them from Amazon, and there's plenty of retailers, the fastest way to get delivery from there is to get Amazon Prime delivery. Now, they charge you for Amazon Prime, but you get a 30-day trial if you haven't had one before. So just do the 30-day trial, get it all and cancel it if you don't want it. There you go, that's your first tip.
Good. We like that. Right, OK, where should we start?
Moving on, so we've got a Bluetooth speaker from Soundcore. It's Soundcore Anchor. It's called the Motion Boom Plus. Think Ghetto Blaster, right? You can see it up on the screen. So it's like a retro Ghetto Blaster, but it doesn't actually have a source of music in it. Obviously, no cassette or CD or anything in there. It's Bluetooth, so you stream from your phone, from your tablet, from any Bluetooth-capable device. And this thing's got booming 80 watts of output. That's why it's called the Boom Plus. But it's quite remarkable. So this thing, first of all, when you charge it up, it'll go for 20 hours of playback time. So you can take it out for a whole day. It's IP67, means it's dust and water resistant. It sounds like a monster, and if you want more than one of them, you can link up to 99 of them together wirelessly and have this massive surround. So, price-wise,
That's a lot.
Yeah, we don't. No, I've never heard of anyone actually doing that, but in theory you can. So, normal list price for this is $169.99. Currently, just a penny under £100, 41% off, which I've checked is the lowest price it's ever been. If you want to check price history, go to camel.com, and you can see if a deal is really a deal.
Right.
Okay. You can see the price.
Camel.com. Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, so that's 4.5 stars. Moving on.
That's a really good one, by the way. I think people will like that.
Thank you. And the thing is, you can't tell from a spec if something is good or not. I've tested this. I'm telling you it's good. It's a very well-regarded unit. And for that price, it would kind of be rude not to buy it, frankly. So moving on from that, I do a lot of technology phone-ins, and a good proportion of those are where people have had their system crash, or they've had spyware that's stolen their data, ransomware. So backups are really key. This is a device that it's a portable SSD, which is like a hard drive but no moving parts. It's from a company called Crucial. It's called the X9 1 terabyte portable external SSD. So you plug this into pretty much any computer, a modern iPad, a modern games console, and 1 terabyte is a huge amount of storage. And this quantity of storage used to cost a fortune, but it just keeps dropping in price. So for 1 terabyte, which is more than enough for most people, I'd say, £69.99 delivered, 4 stars out of 5.
Do you need to format that at all?
Yeah, so it comes formatted, but I would always advise you to format a drive on the machine you're going to use it on, because it's always better. If you're going to plug it into an Apple computer, and by the way, that's a really good idea, because Apple sell under-spec'd cheap computers, and then every time you want a small increase, they charge you £200 bumps at every turn. So this is about an eighth of the price for the upgrade. So 1 terabyte is $69.99, 4 stars out of 5, and you can get other capacities. You can get 2 terabytes and 4 terabytes if you want to, but it's the Crucial X9.
And now, I used to use a backup, but it had moving parts and then they crashed. So the idea with these solid state, I assume, is that doesn't happen.
Yeah, no moving parts. So if you attach it to a laptop, for example, it's silent because there's no moving parts. If you drop it, it will survive because there's no moving parts. Because there's no moving parts, it draws less power, so you get better battery life. Because there's no moving parts, it's not generating heat, therefore it's quieter because there's no fan noise.
Very good.
It's all rather excellent. Moving on from that, a microphone for those of us that either want to do podcasting or streaming or broadcasting, or maybe just make our Zoom calls sound better. So this is from an Australian company called Rode, which is spelled R-O-D-E, and it's called the Pod Mic. So it kind of gives you the clue that it's meant for podcasts. Now this thing is amazing price, because it's normally £109. It's down to a strange price, £71.97 currently on Amazon, 34% off. And people don't realise, but this is modelled on another microphone, I think, the one that I own, called an Electro Voice RE20, which costs about £500. And it gives, to get a microphone that sounds noticeably better than this, you'd probably have to spend about £300, and this is a shade over 70.
Wow, that's really good, and actually I know that brand very well. So the sound quality very good?
Yeah, very good, and it's got a built-in pop filter, so you don't need to have a filter in front of it, and it's quite good if you bump it by accident. If you haven't got it on a boom arm and it's on a tabletop and you bump it, it's quite resistant.
Fantastic. Festive, thanks for the moment. That gets rid of any sibilance, you see, Charlie, so that's a good one for you. Festive, I'm going to take a break. We'll come back to you for more gift ideas after this break. This is Weekend Breakfast. Good morning.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Welcome back. We're in the middle of gadgets, actually, tech gifts for Christmas. Fevzi Tokalp is with us, editor of Gadget Detective. Fevzi, you're doing a fantastic job so far. Let's move on. Now, this next gift, I have one of these and I've used it. Tell us more.
So I was thinking, it's a time of year when families come together and a lot of us have lost members of our families, and memories are stuck on videotapes or on camcorder tapes and all this analog tape, and it's fading away and it's deteriorating and it will eventually be lost. So this is a device that allows you to take any analog video signal, be it from a VHS tape or an old-fashioned camcorder, you plug it into this box, you plug the box into your computer and it digitizes it. It's from a company called Elgato, E-L-G-A-T-O, and it's just called Video Capture. So it's very, very simple to use. There are other versions of this from other manufacturers, but this one is reliable, good quality and easy to use. And I thought that was kind of important because the people that use this may not be tech experts. Price is not reduced, but just because I just thought it was a good gift for the time of year. It's £89.98, 4 stars out of 5. And it's the sort of thing where you could even buy it for yourself and then transfer it and give the transferred footage as a gift to whoever. So you could, and I wouldn't for one moment suggest that you take advantage of their money back guarantee, which means that you can return an item till the end of January. I wouldn't do that.
No, I wouldn't do that either.
That would be immoral.
It would be immoral.
I'm not that sort of person. Right, moving on from that. Two of the best accessories that I've come across. So whenever I buy a computer, be it a PC or a Mac, I get rid of the standard keyboard and I replace it with keyboard and mouse from Logitech.
Oh.
This one here is, I don't have to hold it up. You got it there. It's called the Logitech MX Keys. It's a mini computer keyboard and a mouse that goes with it called the Logitech MX Master 3S. The mouse is arguably the best mouse ever made. It's just ergonomically perfect, and it's got so many buttons and dials on it that you can control. Really nice. But also, if you flip it up underneath, you'll find that there's a button and it can control 3 different devices. So you could use it on, say, an iPad, on your Mac, on your PC, and it will control them all. Same with the keyboard, 3 buttons, and you can just flip between them. So instead of having to have multiple devices, you can have just one that controls everything. So in terms of pricing, the keyboard is $72.99. That's 34% off, and 4.5 stars. And the mouse, $79.99, 4.5 stars. They are not cheap, but whoever you give these to will love you forever if they don't already.
What do you think, Charlie?
I am impressed by that, particularly in the mouse. But I must say, it's the one before the Elgato.
What do you think of that?
Oh, I'm hooked, and I said to you at the break, I think I'm just going to get my family bottles of wine. That's all they, I'm not a big Christmas. But I lost my granddad earlier this year, and all he has are VHS tapes of old footage of holidays and things. I just think being able to transfer, because I didn't know what to do with any of that footage or what we'd do with those videotapes. So to be able to preserve them and turn them into digital, my mum will love that. So
there you go. It's a brilliant idea, and I've done it for exactly that reason, and I've actually digitised all my stuff as well. Fevzi, well done on that. Shall we move on to some music?
Yeah, so for those that fancy being musically creative but like me lack talent, this is quite a good choice. So it's from a company called Arturia. It's a French company. They make software synthesizers, but they also make hardware controllers. So this is a 2-octave keyboard. To give you an idea, it's about the size of a laptop computer. You can see it there. And it's got, as I say, 2 octaves, velocity-sensitive keys. You'll see a row of pads across it. Those are velocity-sensitive drum pads. You've got sliders and what they call rotary encoders, what you and I call knobs. And it's got a screen on it. Now, what's really special about this is it comes with some excellent software that recreates the sounds of classic synthesizers from the 70s, 80s and onwards. And you get the best of all worlds, because with software, you've got amazing flexibility, but it's not very hands-on. With hardware, it's limited. But with this combination, you get the best of all worlds. You get all the flexibility of the software, all these different synths. If you tried to buy a Yamaha CS80, which is what they used on the Blade Runner theme, I think it's tens of thousands of pounds. But there's a software version of it that I challenge you to tell the difference on. It's quite a remarkable device.
Sorry, just to be ignorant. So you've got 2 octaves on that. How do you lay this track down? Do you lay it down sequentially?
Yeah. So you can either use a PC or a Mac or even a tablet or a phone. Anything with a USB-C connector will plug directly in. So I can download a fantastic synthesizer for £3. I can download it onto my iPhone, plug it in and control it from this. If you want to record it, you can do it in a variety of ways. You can either record it directly or use a piece of software called a digital audio workstation, which you can get free as well. They're available free of charge. And then you can do multi-track recording. So you can do the bass part, then you can do the lead, and you can do the chords, and, you know, a bit of drumming on it as well. Even I, who have no talent, can make something that is not immediately obvious I have no talent. So,
so it masks your talentlessness. That's excellent. How much is that?
So it's $79.99, 4.5 stars out of 5. There are bigger versions. You have 4, 5, and 7 octave versions, but I kind of like this because you can travel with it. It doesn't need a separate power supply. It powers off the USB-C connector that plugs into the computer or your device.
Fantastic. Okay, let's move on. I like this next one.
Okay, next one's from a business called 12 South. I don't know how they got their name, but it's called the AirFly Pro, and it's a Bluetooth audio adapter. And you can see that there's actually 3 versions of the AirFly SE, the Duo, and the Pro as you go up in capability. But what that does is it takes anything that doesn't have Bluetooth audio on it, and it turns it into a Bluetooth audio-capable device. So let's say you can see there you've got a handheld games console. I connected one of these to my old separate stereo system from decades ago, and it gave it a completely new lease of life, because now I don't have to connect it up to speakers, although I can connect it to Bluetooth speakers. I could connect it to our first gadget, for example.
Right.
Yeah, you can see the record player there just actually becomes Bluetoothified. So this record player that might be decades old suddenly has a new lease of life, and you can listen to it when you're traveling. If you're on a plane, you can just plug it into the audio output.
That is brilliant. You plug that into a plane, and then you're not sort of playing with that spaghetti wire everywhere.
Yeah, and the Pro version, which is the one I'm reviewing, has the benefit of driving 2 sets of headphones as well, so you don't even have to have a splitter and 2 sets of wires as well. So you could, for example, both watch the same film on a tablet or a Mac or something like that, and just have a really nice immersive experience. And it's just quite remarkable. It just gives you can plug it into the car as well. You know, if you want to have Bluetooth on your car, you can plug it into the car, and then you don't have to have wired connection again. So it's like an upgrade for everything, because everything's got Bluetooth on it except for the older stuff. And I spent my youth buying separates. I mean, other people had social lives. I used to buy separates, and it sounds fantastic, better than a lot of the stuff you can buy today. But it just needs a little bit of adjustment with a little bit of Wi-Fi or Bluetooth on it, and this gives it that. So it's rather special. It's currently reduced to $53.99 for the Pro version.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's really
4
good.
stars out of 5. And there's a cheaper version. You can get one for about just under 40. But I think for an extra sort of £15, it's worth getting the Pro version. It just gives you more flexibility. And you just charge it up. It's Bluetooth 5. It's a genuinely nice gadget because it enhances everything that you already own. So, you know, you can't really lose with that.
That's excellent. That's excellent. What else?
Moving on, I've got this device. It's called a Kudos Snap stand, and it's a stand and a charger. So you can get. I'm not going to put my phone on it because I'm talking to you through my phone. But this bit is a magnetic lock. So if you've got a MagSafe phone, like either an iPhone, a modern iPhone, or you've got an Android phone with a magnetic ring on the back of the case, it snaps onto there. If it's MagSafe compatible, it charges. If you move it up from here, if you just see here, you can put your Apple Watch on that bit here, and it charges. And here you can put your AirPods. So if you've got wireless earbuds that can also be charged magnetically. It does there. So you just plug in one cable here, USB-C, the ubiquitous USB-C. And what I really like about it is it's made of metal. It's solid. So I use it as a desk stand even when I'm not traveling. But when I am traveling, I just do that, and then you can pop it in your pocket and you're good to go.
Yeah.
You've got a three-way charger. Not cheap. It's $71.99 with a 10% discount off the QDOS website. This isn't on Amazon, this one, but if you go to QDOS, QDOS, I've given it 4 stars out of 5.
Amazing. What do you think?
That's very good. That's very clever. And I'm the least tech-savvy person.
But it's good, isn't it? So you've got one wire, you charge 3 devices.
3 devices, yeah. Headphones, watch, phone. We like that. That's the trilogy that I'll be after, yes.
Perfect. Fevsy, thanks ever so much. That's it, isn't it? You haven't got anything else?
Absolute pleasure. No.
No, brilliant. Well, let me just wish you a very happy Christmas. Thanks ever so much for doing that for us. That's Fevsy Turkal, editor of GadgetDetective.com and host of the Gadget Detective podcast. Right, keep all your messages coming in, please. Lots of you getting in touch. I'm asking, what would you like for Christmas from the political class? Dan in Kent, what I'd like for the political class is a huge pin to burst that Westminster bubble and bring the politicians back down to earth with a bump. Merry Christmas to David and Charlie. Thank you very much. Vincent is telling me I need a bow tie. I've mentioned that before. Lots of other messages coming in as well. Keep all of those coming in, please. What would you like for Christmas from the political class? I'll take some calls and your thoughts and messages after this break. This is Weekend Breakfast. Good morning.
If you watch the abysmal proceedings by the Public Accounts Committee yesterday, you saw all these people who've wasted not the figure you did, but nearer 100 billion, stand there having lied to successive Public Accounts Committees over the years and saying, oh, we're going to reset it, and from now on, we who have messed it up are going to make it all right again. I mean, I've never seen anything more ridiculous in my life.
Across the UK, on on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
This is Talk 7:48 now on Sunday, December the 22nd. Charlie Rowley joins me this morning dressed as a gingerbread man, of course. What else?
What else?
What else? Did you reach into your cupboard and think, I think I'll be a gingerbread man this morning?
I thought, well, no, I was inspired by my new beard.
Yes, it's quite something.
It is. Do you like it? Do you
know? I think it suits you.
Do you think so?
Yeah.
I've had good feedback, but I'm still not convinced because it's quite new. But I was going a little bit gingery at the top here. It wasn't quite in keeping with the rest of my natural whiskers.
I see. So you dyed it.
So I had a little colour. But then I thought, well, ginger. I'll go if I can't go ginger here. I'll go ginger here.
I understand now. Lots of messages coming in. David, Jackie says, as a massive fan of your splendid attire, I have to say that hat does nothing for your dapper festive look. I took it off immediately. May I take this opportunity to thank you for being a voice of sanity in this mad world, and I hope you have a wonderful Christmas. Thank you. And to you as well. Peter, good morning to you. What I want from the political class is honesty, integrity and decency. Also, I want £1 million in my bank account. Dream on. I agree. That would be very nice indeed. That would actually solve a lot of problems.
What, £1 million in is... Yeah, well, yes. Well, absolutely, yes. Well,
or is that not enough for you?
Do you know Elon? Are you friends?
Well,
he was giving away during the US election.
I know Nigel, I know Nick. I don't know Elon.
It's only a matter of time.
It's only a matter of time. Maybe I'll ask him for £1 million.
Yeah. Well, he was giving it out, wasn't he, during the presidential election?
So maybe. Okay. The David Bull Charity Fund.
Oh, exactly.
Yes, it's very good cause. Robbie, good morning to you. I'm loving Charlie's gingerbread outfit. I'd love to snap off his arms and dunk them in my coffee. I have no idea what that means. Great show, guys. Rob in Portsmouth. Rob's on the sherry. I'm sure
it was an armless joke.
An armless joke. Very good, very good. Right, let's take a voice note now. Who have we got? A voice note from Judy. Judy in West Yorkshire. Good morning.
You are correct, Dr. David. The air that we're breathing these days is a lot better. It's the best it's ever been. I can't even remember the last time I encountered a pea super. And as a child, there were regular. In winter, you could guarantee at least one day a week there would be one. And I was brought up, I was a child in the 50s, and I can remember going to school with an hanky to my face, tied at the back with a scarf. And everybody was saying we were all walking to school like this. Now, if you saw that today, about a load of kids walking down road to school with scarves tied round their mouth, you'd think something were a matter. But the air quality has vastly improved, vastly. Thank you.
Thank you, Judy. What's your response? You're a post.
Well, I'm obviously haven't been around as long as Judy or a time when air quality was bad. But I do still think, and I do maintain, and I will go and look at figures but I think air quality in our cities is obviously worse than in our rural areas. So I just think making sure that we still have good air quality.
Infrastructure. Look, I think we agree, but you need the infrastructure to do that.
Yes,
but also the literal drive to EVs it is a bit. It's disingenuous in many ways because, of course, you need those rare minerals to be mined, which are mined by lots of people, not paid very much, or by very young children, or whatever it is. Then it's put in that just to make ourselves feel good about having electric vehicles. I count myself amongst that. Then you've got to have the charging infrastructure. You need the power stations to do that, and we haven't invested in that stuff.
And that's the problem, and that is the problem. There are alternatives. There are alternative renewables. There are alternative sort of hydro powered vehicles. We can look at other things. But I do believe
I quite like hydrogen buses. I think that's quite a good idea.
Yes. Again, I've seen them in Aberdeen, no less, where they've.
I've seen them in London.
Oh well, there you go. I went.
And of course, the byproduct is water.
Yes, exactly. So all of this technology, I think, if we don't start, it'll never come on. So there's got to be a starting point. But I still maintain that none of this should happen on the back of costing people any more. And adding to their cost of living.
Let's talk to Ivor now, who's on the line from Hampshire. Good morning.
Hello, David. How are you?
Yeah, good. Thanks very much indeed. Looking forward to Christmas?
Yeah, I am. I am looking forward to it. But I'd look forward to it even more if this lot wasn't around.
Right. So that's the question I'm asking this morning. What would you like for Christmas from the political class?
I'd like this lot out immediately, because when you think about it, they've got in under false pretences.
Go on.
They've told lies. Now, haven't they? I think they've got to take an oath, haven't they, when they come to Parliament?
Right.
This lot, if you did that in court, took an oath, and you lied, that is called perjury.
So what's your biggest gripe? Is it because you feel that they weren't honest in their manifesto?
Yeah, that's exactly. They told lie after lie after lie, and it seems to me they're determined to take this country to bits, brick by brick. They're just destroying everything. So
what's your... If you were to meet Rachel Reeves, I mean, yet again this morning, she's saying, well, we kept to our promises. We said we wouldn't increase tax or national insurance or VAT. And I'm like, but you just did?
Well, I'd say you're just an out-and-out liar.
Do you think she realises that the country can see through them?
Well, they should do. I mean, it's there right in front of your face every day.
And in terms of that, what are you most angry about? Is it the fact that they've been disingenuous and they haven't exactly been truthful with what they were going to do? Is it because they've stripped the winter fuel allowance, or is it all the other stuff that they've been doing?
Well, everything. I mean, the winter fuel allowance, the tax on the farmers, it isn't about the money. He wants the land, the concrete over for all these immigrants he's let in, and he's doing nothing about them. And then suddenly we got all this money to throw around all around the world. But we can't look after our own people. And he also said in the manifesto, I'm going to put the people of this country first. And actually, he's putting our people last with everything.
But how do you feel about the fact... I mean, my personal feeling is that defence is our #1 priority. If we don't defend this country, then we have nothing. So then, in terms of their warped priorities, we're going to spend all this money on net zero, which we don't really know will work, but we're going to mothball the Queen Elizabeth.
Well, that's a disgrace. We should be building our defences up, having a look what's going on around the world. And this net zero is a load of rubbish. I mean, that woman that you just had on, she's right. Back when we were children, they had the thing called smog.
Yes.
Up in London, and you could hardly see across the street.
That's right.
And now the air is brilliant.
Now, Charlie will respond by saying, well, that's because we've moved to cleaner air, because we are embracing electric vehicles, won't you?
Absolutely, yes. Yeah, I think we can always do more. And again, particularly those that live in the cities, and, you know, I mean, I know... I mean, going all around the country at times, but, you know, Oxford Street, you know, is I think, one of those polluted streets in the UK, I think, at the minute. That's why people want it to be pedestrianised or not, whatever. But it is, you know, because of the traffic, and particularly in London. So air quality, I take the point.
You can't drive into London anyway, because Sadiq's cars put 20-mile-an-hour speed limits everywhere.
Well, exactly.
So that's a whole other ball game.
Yes. I mean, it's got better, but it's more to do.
OK. Ivor, thanks ever so much for your call this morning. I wish you a very happy Christmas as well. Kathy says, you and Johnny have made my morning. Both look brilliant, feeling very festive now. That's really kind. Thank you. What about this one from Sharon? Mandelson, why the heck has he got that job? He's been fired a few times. Now, look, if I was fired from my job, would I get it back? No, I wouldn't. This government is one big joke. One rule for them and one rule for us. It does seem... You know, when trust in politics is already at an all-time low, it seems that you can just get fired multiple times and then somehow you get back in. I mean, it's like when David Cameron popped back up. I thought, here we go again. It's a revolving door.
Well, yes, you can't reward success or failure by, you know, other success or other jobs, you know, when you've made a hash of it. I mean, I think the thing about Peter Mandelson is because... He has had an international role. He was our man in Europe at one point. But he's had such a number of comebacks, and he's such a master of the political dark arts.
I was going to say dark arts.
If there is anyone, I think probably Keir Starmer's thinking, that could be able to try and just take it on the chin, all the criticism that the UK might get, that the government might get, the Labour government from the incoming presidency, who is the man that could... woo the president in some way by sort of, saying what Labour backbench MPs probably don't want to hear. Who can take up all of that heat? Who can get on side with from the Labour side with the new president-elect? Maybe it's Peter Mandelson.
So can I just ask you, though, just in terms of the new year is approaching, is there anything that Starmer can do? And I did ask this, I think, yesterday or during the week. Is there anything he can do that sort of would you mentioned the word reset. Is there something he could do which would change the relationship between the electorate and him?
I mean, that is a $1 million question. I mean, I think the answer is probably not, because even if you go into the new year, which is a perfect opportunity, by the way, to have a reset, to say, look, we've been in for 6 months since July. We've had to make some tough decisions. Going into this year, these are our priorities. This is what we're going to do. This is what you should be starting to see by the summer, whether that's growth, whether that's whatever predictions are already out there. Whatever it is, to give a bit of hope and optimism to 2025, that's something he should be done. He's wasted that opportunity because he's had about 5 resets already. So I really think there is nothing that he can do now unless he starts to see results in terms of growth, in terms of the economy, in terms of things that he said he's going to do, tackling immigration, the cost of living crisis, and seeing improvements in the NHS and waiting times and all the rest of it. But I think that's a big order for someone.
It certainly is. Charlie, thanks ever so much. Time for a break. After the break, I'm going to be talking about what's going on today. It's going to be a tough day for travellers by air, sea and rail. The Met Office is warning for strong winds across much of the UK. Many flights and ferries also cancelled, by the way. The roads are going to be absolutely chock-a-block. I'm going to be talking to Simon Calder, travel correspondent at The Independent, for all the latest news. Don't go anywhere. This is Weekend Breakfast. Don't go anywhere.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
very good morning to you. It's just after 8 o'clock on Sunday, December the 22nd. I'm David Bull. This is Weekend Breakfast. Welcome along to our Christmas festivities. I hope you're feeling very well, fresh and fruity this morning. I have great news for you this morning. It's Short Person Day today. It's a day that celebrates those people who come in small packages.
Tell me why are Smurfs so small?
We're not small, but you are tall.
I've got that single. Yeah, the Smurf song from about 1970s on the or rather. Also, happy birthday to Ralph Fiennes. Now, who is he? He is an award-winning actor. He's also ambassador for UNICEF, and also he has Serbian citizenship. He turns 62 today. Happy birthday!
Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday indeed. Also, as you know, just 3 days to go until Christmas.
David Bull looks like you are on the naughty list again this year. When will you learn, young man?
Never. Right, let's move on to today's fascinating facts.
Today's fascinating facts.
So I've delved deep into history for this hour. On this day in 1550, the death of Richard Plantagenet, Richard of Eastwell. Now, shortly before the Battle of Bosworth, Richard, who was 16, was taken to see King Richard III at his encampment. The king informed the boy that he was his son. He told him to watch the battle from a safe vantage point, telling him that if he won, he would acknowledge him as his son. But if he lost, then the boy would have to conceal his identity forever. Now, King Richard was killed in the battle, so the boy fled to London and was apprenticed to a bricklayer. So there you go. On this day, the death of George Eliot, real name Mary Ann Evans, English novelist and poet and one of the leading writers of the Victorian era. On this day in 1919, the Government of Ireland Act of Power Home Rule for Ireland came into being. It was signed by King George V. Ireland then divided into two parts, each with its own parliament. On this day in 1965, Richard Dimbleby, the British broadcaster, died. And on this day in 1973, Elton John started a 2-week run at #1 on the UK chart with the album Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. The album featured the song Candle in the Wind that was later rewritten after the death of Princess Diana. And those are today's fascinating facts.
Oh, 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 let's celebrate the day with David and the team. We're ready to play. Merry Christmas to all. Let the good times roll.
Merry Christmas indeed. 5 minutes past 8, Sunday, December the 22nd. Barry, good morning to you in Germany. Great channel, keep going. Donald Trump talks real life talk. He will see through Peter Mandelson's spin. Good morning, David. I hope those people who voted Labour are now sorry for doing so. The net zero is the least of our problems. This country won't make a difference. The whole thing is tiny, and yet us, the people, have to pay for it all. If we aren't all broke enough already, that's Zoe in Lancashire. Keep all of those messages coming in. I'm asking this morning, what would you like for Christmas from the political class? It can be anything at all. William in Hawley, good morning. Great show as ever. Thank you very much. I agree with your last caller. The government should be made accountable. Everything they said they would do, they haven't done. They're destroying our country and we should be able to get them out. Also, can't Musk actually donate earlier than planned to avoid any issues? We need reform very much. They are the saviour of this country. Charlie Rowley joins me this morning, dressed as a gingerbread man for no apparent reason. In terms of that, there is... I've never seen this kind of schism where you are seeing people who normally are loyal tribally, but actually moving away so disenfranchised. We spoke this morning as well, you know, even those people who are staunch conservatives just aren't there.
Yeah, I think that's right. And I think it's almost as if, because obviously for too long there's been the two-party sort of system, Labour-Tory, and, you know, a bit of a coalition back in 2010, which didn't last long because we don't want that in this country. It doesn't really work for us. We've almost feel as though it's either going to be one or other, until you've seen, I think, the comeback in the States under President Trump, someone who has just said things how it is, who's had a plan that doesn't mind who he upsets and the way he does it. He just wants to get on and do a good job. And, you know, I think that's almost given people now permission in the UK to think, you know what, actually, if it can happen in America, where you can have such a comeback and actually such a change in political party, because he's not a traditional Republican. I think there is now a real appetite for emergence of new parties and for politicians to actually believe what they actually say and do what they actually want to do.
Just very quickly, I was talking to some very senior Conservative politicians who were talking to me and saying, essentially, they were espousing the view that the Conservative Party has a divine right to exist. I don't agree.
And I think, look, it has been complacent, clearly, for too long, because you've got to ask yourself, you know, as a Conservative, what does the Conservative Party stand for now? You know, what is the offer, even to young people, when it comes to housing or home ownership? OK, that's the traditions of youth and home ownership in general, under Thatcher, obviously. But what does it offer young people?
What does it offer?
Well, I mean, back in the day, it was all about opportunity. And so you had, you know, apprenticeships, not just people going to university, you know, making sure that you had best standards in schools compared to anywhere else in the world. That's all the education reforms that came in. Lots of things happened along the way, but it's the party sort of lost its way because of probably COVID, because of too much division over Brexit, when it should have just enacted what people voted for and got on with it. But all of that saps energy, and now you do have to ask, where is the direction of the Conservative Party? Where are the policies? Kemi Badenoch says that they're going to come forward. She needs time in that role, and you know, I wish her all the best of luck in that. But you can't have too much time to think, because there is an opposition emerging under reform. There is a team there where they seem to be the opposition to the current government, and you know, are gathering pace and momentum and members, young people in particular, as much as anyone else, because people are fed up of the left-wing wokeism that we've seen in this country for far too long, where people now can turn up to school and identify as a cat, it seems to me. All of that rubbish has to be talked about openly, and that's where reform, I think, have filled that vacuum of all the things that I've just talked about, where politicians haven't delivered within that two-party system.
Talking about direction, Charlie, that brings me nicely to what's going on at the moment. 21.3 million people expected to hit the roads as people are finding the directions to their Christmas parties. Millions of people also hitting the shopping high streets. I think tomorrow is going to be called Manic Monday. People desperate to get the last-minute shopping as well. They believe 30 million people will flock to stores, the busiest festive getaway on record. Social media users are warning of absolute bedlam at train stations, airports, supermarkets. Yesterday we saw passengers in stationary queues waiting to check in at Manchester Airport. There are going to be 90,000 daily passengers between now and Christmas Day. Also, weary travellers seen waiting for trains in St Pancras. The whole thing is pretty miserable. Joining us now, though, with all the latest news, Simon Calder, friend of this programme, travel correspondent now at The Independent. Good morning, Simon.
Good morning, and look, I'm really sorry, guys, not to be in the same Christmas garb as you, but unfortunately my role at the moment as the voice of travel doom means that I'm not quite celebrating for people, not least because, can you believe, David, 15,000 passengers flying in and out of Heathrow Airport have had their travel plans torn up. That's because more than 100 flights have been cancelled, and that's happened because, well, busiest two-runway airport in the world, normally planes landing as close together as 80 seconds. Strong winds forecast means that they have to reduce that rate, which means that they have to cancel flights. So British Airways has cancelled 80 flights. Other airlines, including Virgin Atlantic, have cancelled single round trips. But a miserable thing to happen with just 3 days to go before Christmas.
I mean, there's a big conversation here about infrastructure, isn't there, and why we've got why we're in the situation we're in. But for those people who have had their festive plans disrupted, and if you have had your flight cancelled, what are your options here, and what's the deal in terms of getting your money back or rebooking?
Well, it's this time of year, of course, when everybody is not just financially but emotionally invested in getting where they need to be. Now, air passenger rights rules are on your side because they say, right, sorry, David, we've cancelled your flights. We need to get you an alternative flight as soon as possible, including buying a ticket on another airline if that's the only way of getting you there. However, saying that and the airlines actually doing what they're supposed to is one thing. And anyway, at this time of year, of course, bookings are so high. planes are so full that it's really difficult finding extra space. On the Virgin Atlantic flight to Miami, I was talking to one passenger there who's just setting off on her journey, now going via New York JFK. It's going to take her 5 hours longer, much more stressful. But she said, you know, the alternative was to wait and see if I could get a flight on Monday, but that's getting a little bit close. So miserable stuff going on there. And I'm afraid rail travel once again disrupted, not necessarily because of engineering works, but staff shortage. We are seeing hundreds of trains in northwest England cancelled on Northern. That's because their guards don't have to work on Sunday if they don't want to. And guess what? It's the Sunday before Christmas. They're staying at home with their family.
I mean, Simon, how can people take them seriously if they're being given pay rises and then they can't be bothered to work on a Sunday? I mean, it beggars belief that we're meant to be a first world country.
Well, it's many governments have failed to deal with the ridiculous fact that you're working in a 24/7 industry like the railways, and a lot of people employed on the west side of the Pennines by Northern, not on the east side, can simply decide, and it's up to them. And their unions have got them fantastic pay deals without any strings attached. So why would they turn up and work? It's you know, if they want to spend time with their families, that's exactly what the rules allow.
They should work at talkTV, let me tell you.
Everyone should work at talkTV, but the thing is, we're not as good as you, David.
Oh, Simon, stop, carry on. So let's just go back to rail. What else is going on? Because there are closures as well of some of the big mainline stations as well.
Oh, okay, yeah. The main one is at the moment the Midland Main Line from Sheffield, Leicester, Derby, Nottingham down to London St Pancras International. That's closed, and as a result of that, we got rail replacement buses, which is nobody's idea of fun. On top of that, services will on Christmas Eve start to wind down round about tea time. Last services much earlier than normal on most lines. All the trains are don't go anywhere on Christmas Day. Boxing Day, very few trains running, just a shuttle from London Victoria to Gatwick, another train up to Stansted Airport, and then a few around Merseyside. And then on Friday, I hope you're keeping up with this, all the lines mostly reopen, except that they don't. The busiest station in Britain, London Liverpool Street, closed completely until the 2nd of January. And Paddington Station, the second busiest in Britain, serving the west of England, South Wales, that's going to be closed through to the 30th of December. And there's some trains running in from Penzance, from Swansea, Cardiff and so on, and they will be going to London Euston instead. But for most other people, it will be a question of changing trains and maybe getting buses. And then we've got work on the around Crewe on the West Coast Main Line. That's happening towards the end of the year, and that will seamlessly merge into the first of 5 months of strikes by train managers working for Avanti West Coast. They begin on New Year's Eve and will continue until the 25th of May.
Well, that all sounds very jolly. Let's move on. What about ferries? High winds, are they affected?
Oh, yes. I've just been looking at what's happening in Western Scotland. Pretty much the whole of the Western Isles are off, excuse me, off limits for... Oh.
Don't die, Simon.
Off limits for the rest of the day. That's as a result of the high winds. They're trying to get across the Isle of Bute as we speak, and they're not sure if they're going to be able to dock. And then, crucially, on the Irish Sea, Stena Line tell me there's going to be disruption from Cairn Ryan in southwest Scotland across to Belfast. But more importantly, the link from Holyhead in northwest Wales to Dublin is not going to be running until the 15th of January. Bear in mind that is by far the most important link across the Irish Sea, and it's simply closed. As a result of that, we've seen airfares soaring. Yesterday I was looking at Ryanair, over £500 one way for some flights from London Gatwick to Dublin. So huge demand for people getting where they need to be. Lots of obstacles. Actually, if you're on the roads today, probably not going to be too bad. Watch out for the areas around big shopping areas. But if you're on the road now and you're going to finish by about 11s, you can feel really smug. If not, maybe wait till tea time before you set off. Tomorrow, Manic Monday, very busy. Christmas Eve, also busy for getaway journeys. Again, going early, going late is going to be the best way.
Very good, Simon, very good. Just finally, if I may, wish you a very happy birthday, because, of course, your birthday is on Christmas Day, I seem to remember.
Well, it is. That's a minor Christmas miracle, and that's very nice. Yes.
It's always a miracle. Are you doing something nice for Christmas and your birthday all combined?
Well, look, it's been going on for quite a long time now, my birthday and Christmas combined.
21 years.
But look, it's I shall be with my my family, and hopefully that everyone will be quiet and happy where they need to be. But unfortunately, you know and I know, things can go wrong at Christmas and often do. So I'll be on duty, of course, for talk at all times.
Oh, you are
just
good.
in case.
You're very good. I'm actually here pretty much the whole time. I'm not doing Christmas Day or Boxing Day, but I'm here otherwise all the way through, including New Year. So, Simon, I have no doubt I will call on your professional services. But look, have a very happy birthday, and thanks ever so much for updating us.
Thank you, David. Lovely to talk to you.
That's Simon Calder, travel correspondent at The Independent. I mean, it is going to be messy. Let me just tell you, Simon said something there, to avoid those big shopping centres. I made the mistake of charging my car at Lakeside, which is a big shopping centre for those who don't know. Never again. Just never again.
Oh, gosh, yes.
I mean, it was just rammed. But also, the rules of the road go out of the window.
Yes.
People were sort of driving on the grass. I've never seen anything like it.
No, it just sounds madness. I mean, even just walking through city centres or shopping centres at this time, it's just, for me, it is the...
Bar humbug.
It's the opposite to Christmas, so I'll...
So did that help you in terms of your travel? The one thing I was going to ask you, did you look at a rental car to go to visit your family?
Well, I did, but I think it's just quite expensive and last minute sort of. But I was sort of looking at the trains. However, my train would be into Liverpool Street, so knowing that is closed up until the 2nd of January is quite alarming. So I think I might just have to...
I that's where I come into is Liverpool Street. I've done the rail replacement service. I mean, just never again, ever.
No, it's not worth it.
It's not worth it.
And it's pointless, the stress of going home and then being stressed because you're then thinking about, oh gosh, how am I going to get back? You might as well...
And you're working over Christmas,
over Christmas, so I think what I might have to do immediately after this is make a call to say to my family, we'll do Christmas, maybe we'll find another day. But
you heard the news here first. Charlie, thank you so much for coming in. You've been an absolute joy and a pleasure, as usual.
No, thank you. Merry Christmas.
Yes, and I wish you a very happy Christmas as well. That's Charlie Rowley there, Conservative commentator. Right, time for a break. After the break, it's our Future Politics panel. Joining us this morning, William Barclay, who's an undergraduate student of philosophy and politics. Also, Jack Barwell, who's a Conservative campaign manager. That's all still to come. This is Weekend Breakfast. A very good morning to you.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. This is Talk 8:24 on Sunday, December the 22nd, just when I think it can't get any more ridiculous. It does. Good morning, good morning. Lots of messages coming in. Hello, David. I'd just like to say to you and your Talk colleagues, you've kept us all sane since the election. This is Carolina in Bath. Starmer becoming Prime Minister has caused many people a lot of unnecessary stress with their evil policies. For Christmas, and that's the question I'm asking, for Christmas, what would you like from the political class? It can be anything at all from any shade of political class. So for Christmas, I would like Starmer to resign. Feliz Navidad y Prospero Año Nuevo. That's Carolina in Bath. P.S. I'm not Spanish. Well, can you tell I'm not either? Merry Christmas to all Charlie said about Brexit. Brexit was voted for by the people. Parliament caused the problems by not doing the people's will. The same with Labour. Now they get voted in on a manifesto. Then they do what they want. Well, we've had enough and people are rebelling. That's Sharon in Wigan. Thank you for that as well. Let's do one more. Ant, good morning to you. For Christmas, what I want is for Labour to step down from Cloud 9 and come back to reality. Keep all of those messages coming in, please. 03444 499 1000. The call's charged at the national rate. You can text the word talk in your message to 87222. You can message us on X as well, at talkTV. But now it is time for the Future Politics panel.
The Future Politics panel.
Well, joining me this morning, I'm delighted to say, very festive, William Barclay, undergraduate student of philosophy and politics, and also Jack Barwell, Conservative campaign manager. Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning, David. Morning.
That is a heck of a shirt.
Thank you. It's new, actually.
Is it?
Yeah.
Did they have one in your size?
I'll be really honest, I bought it yesterday.
Did you?
Yeah.
Did you?
So...
And you borrowed my time.
I did, David. I just relied on you to save the day.
Well, bless you, bless you. Can I just start? Just in terms of this, we're looking at headlines like this, the Sunday Express, cuts force HMS Queen Elizabeth out of action. We've got lots of things here about Rachel Reeves, the Grinch. Rachel Reeves steals 45% of your donations. This is based on national insurance, the employer national insurance contributions. As young people, how optimistic are you about the future of this country?
I think it's probably right now, it's definitely a time for... It's not a great time of optimism, especially for young people. I think lots of young people are very disenfranchised with politics. I think that's why you've seen a significant sway to reform in recent weeks and months, especially with young people. I think it's a sort of growing and emerging battle space. Who's going to sort of win the short-form video content battle? Because lots of young people, most of the young people I know, myself included in that, most of the news that you consume really is sort of TikTok, Twitter, Instagram.
That's so interesting, because it's not something I've embraced recently until I've watched operations like Reform and Nigel Farage. He's huge on TikTok. Is that where you get your news?
I get my news from multiple forms. I read some of the papers, I watch some of the shows, including Talk David, give you a shout out. So. But I also think social media is a huge platform. I think if you're a young person in today's society, and if you don't mind me saying, particularly young men, I feel they are very disenfranchised. I feel they don't have much hope about society, not because they don't believe in the British dream, but because the British dream has been broken for them, because society feels stacked against them. We know that young, white, working class men are now one of the most unlikely groups to get into university, and affirmative action is one of the reasons behind that. Social media is a different platform. It's not the traditional forms of media, it's not the traditional liberal establishment that are force-feeding narratives, and people can end up there because they want to hear a different type of content.
So that's really interesting. Just in terms of your own experience, what do you like about the delivery of those political messages in short form on TikTok, for example? Is it the immediacy of it, or is it a trusted source?
Yeah, I think as... like about it is an interesting thing. I think a lot of young people, it's not something they're intentional or conscious about. It's just the sort of road they've gone down without really realising it. It's completely underpinned by sort of instant gratification. Instant gratification in terms of political message now. If we can give you a political message that rewards your sort of viewpoints and prejudices immediately, then that's something that
well, that's really interesting, just in terms of that. So Reform is doing very well. I know that in terms of the short form and TikTok and all the rest of it. Is it because, is there a message there to the other political parties to say you need to up your game?
Definitely, 100%, no doubt.
Would you agree?
Somewhat, I would agree, and I think that it's been woeful how poor other parties, including my own, the Conservatives, have been.
Why is that? Why are your lot so terrible?
Well, that's a very broad question, David.
I meant just in terms of
specifically on social media. I mean, we've only got 5 minutes. Specifically on social media, I think it's because the people at the top of these parties are not as new and reinvigorated. I think there are people that are still running those parties, working in organisations, think tanks that are advising them, that are very stuck in the past. Lots of older people who are maybe not in touch with younger people. For me, I've been shouting for a while now for younger representation in the elected positions of these parties.
But what's so interesting to me is that back when I was growing up, the young Conservatives were the lifeblood of the Conservative Party.
They're not today, because we have a system where it's all fed into the main party. We need more youth reform within these party wings in order to give young people the voice they need. And I think the party is just starting to listen to that. The new chairman, some of the shadow cabinet.
Who's to blame for that? Cameron?
I don't know. I wouldn't say it's just one person.
But he was all about centralisation, wasn't he?
He was, and some of that came from David Cameron. But if you have an issue that runs for 20, 30 years, there's going to be multiple different people that have had a chance to fix it and haven't. Now, to be fair to Kemi, her new team are looking into this, and Nigel Huddleston, one of the chairs of the party, is making youth reform a key pillar of his strategy. So we need to see more of that new radical thinking on not just youth reform, but many different issues. But can I also say that this is just equally an issue for the Labour Party? They're losing people to the Greens in the same way that we're losing people to reform of a younger age.
It's really interesting that. And I have to go to a break. Just to encapsulate to the other parties, what's your message, just building on that, what's your message to the other parties about delivery of message and which channels they target?
It's a very good question. I think it's a sort of trade-off, because you want to be able to control those mediums, but equally when you take to those sort of avenues, when you use social media, you sacrifice on the sort of nuance, and you go for sort of clarity. And I think they've got to just be aware of that trade-off, because you don't want to sacrifice what you really think, what's really valuable to the public, in the sort of name of just appealing to young people who don't, you know, as the statistics show, aren't that encouraged in voting anyway.
Well, I'm not sure that's true anymore. I actually have met some very enfranchised young people who are desperate for change and who are going out to vote. Stay where you are, chaps. Will and Jack will be back after this break. Very quickly, if I may. Dr. David, this is Pat. I live in Cheshire and it's snowing. I don't believe you. Send me a picture. Merry Christmas. See you after the break.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome 8:34 now already on Sunday, December the 22nd. Someone was telling me they're snowing where they are. I don't believe you. I don't believe you. It's meant to be mild. It's meant to be windy as well. And, of course, massive travel chaos, as we heard from Simon Calder a little earlier on. I'm in the middle of the Future Politics panel with William Barclay, undergraduate student of philosophy and politics, and Jack Barwell, Conservative campaign manager. And should we talk about Rachel Reeves? I mean, we were talking about this earlier. The fact is that she's so intransigent. And Keir Starmer, I listened to him at a select committee, just repeating verbatim the same lines and showing absolutely no empathy to anyone who's struggling in this country. Now, Rachel Reeves insists she won't gaslight working people again over her plans to turn around the economy. Instead of actually giving us a vision and optimism for this great country, what she does is she's launched a really scathing attack on Reform UK and saying Nigel Farage hasn't got a clue. She goes on to defend her approach, even though the bank is saying we're on the brink of stagnation. She says, oh, well, we're going to improve things in the new year. We're taking on vested interest. But instead of actually telling us what she's doing, she launched a broadside at Nigel Farage. What is Nigel Farage's answer to the economy? How is he going to make working people better off? He has no idea. It's a very odd tactic.
Yeah, but I think it's something that needs to be done. I think there's definitely merit to what you first said, David. I think that Labour are struggling to communicate a sort of actual vision and a vision for hope, and I think Keir Starmer's got a real problem in terms of his sort of oratory, that he does just sort of repeat the same lines. That said, I think Labour and the Conservatives, they both need to acknowledge the threat of reform. Sort of the good discussion we were just having.
But they've all called reform swivel-eyed loonies in the past.
Yeah, and I think they've got to move away from that. But for me, as a young voter, my view on reform is they can be vulnerable to this charge that actually they look to sort of hijack issues. I think in terms of substantive economic plans, I think it's a fair criticism from her. It's lacking at the moment from reform. I think Nigel Farage obviously is a very effective political operator, but on issues of migration and the economy, is he someone that's looking to just hijack those issues, to weaponise them, or is he someone that's actually trying to solve them? I don't know.
Which do you think it is?
I think he is looking... I'm not sure I agree with the word hijack. I think Nigel Farage is an excellent communicator and does a very good job of highlighting the issues. That doesn't always mean he has the solution. But let's just start at the start, David. So let's start by telling the truth. Labour came in with no vision at all. They came in with a manifesto that they claimed was going to fix the economy. Then they scrapped the manifesto, and now they're basically trying to scrap the economy, as far as I see it. We have a government that says their 22 billion black hole is what they're having to fix, yet there's 12 billion for train drivers already on £65,000 a year, 8 billion for an energy company that won't even produce energy, and 5 billion for a national wealth fund. And any private business owner knows it's a joke to suggest the government creates wealth. No, it's business that creates wealth.
Correct.
So Labour have no credibility on the economy. But politics isn't a game of one side or the other all the time. It could also be true that Nigel Farage needs to demonstrate more credibility for the economy. At the last election, the IFS said Reform wanted tax cuts that would cost 90 billion and spending increases that would cost 50 billion. So maybe it could be true that neither party is in a perfect position on the economy at the moment. And that's not to say that the Conservative Party is perfect either. But I just don't think we have to have such red lines.
Let me just throw out to you what those policies were that Reform ran on. So at the moment, the tax threshold, 12,500, that would be lifted to 20,000. That would take immediately 6 million people out of tax completely. That, I think, would be a game changer. The higher threshold goes from 50,000 to 70,000. Corporation tax lifted to 100,000. Your point is really valid. This is SMEs that make wealth in this country. And at the moment, the SMEs, and I've heard from many of them saying, I'm giving up. I'm actually not going to bother because it's not worth my while employing people, especially with employers' national insurance.
David, I completely agree. And I think that both the policies you've just said are individually good policies. But I want to see politics to be done differently. I want to do things differently. And what that means is we do need a bit of honesty about how we're going to afford those policies. And if Nigel Farage was sitting in the studio today, I would say, what is the way that we go about affording what I think are two very sensible, common-sense policies? We do need to have grown-up thinking, and that includes honesty with the public. The public cannot afford to be taken for another ride by a politician who doesn't know how to pay for their promises. Again, though, that does not mean that Labour are in any way not ballsing up the economy. It's common sense to the ordinary people that they're doing that as well.
It's interesting, actually, and you mentioned about the threat from Reform. The Observer this morning, if I've got it here, the front page of The Observer is also talking about let's not rush to impose anything on donations from political parties, because there is a real concern here that actually they would have... I can't find it, but they would have quite... Oh, here it is. So the Observer this morning says ministers resist rush to block Musk millions going to Farage. This is the whole point. Elon Musk, Nick Candy and Nigel Farage all seen at Mar-a-Lago. Nigel sort of saying, well, 100 million quid is coming from Elon Musk. The political class absolutely apoplectic about that. But it's OK for Keir Starmer if you get into bed with BlackRock, for example, and that the corporate donations through UK companies are fine as long as it doesn't go anywhere near any right-wing party.
Yeah, I think Keir Starmer will probably say that those conversations with BlackRock were sort of in his capacity as Prime Minister to generate more private investment in the UK. I don't think
I'm sure he
BlackRock was suggesting there was going to be a sort of £100 million donation to the Labour Party. I think the point on Elon Musk is we live in an age now where you have a certain group of billionaires that also control the tech space. So Elon Musk controls X, the largest, forum we have in the world right now for public discussion and discourse around politics. He controls that space. As he's looking to move himself into politics, he's one of Donald Trump's sort of closest allies now. I think there should be real trepidation and anxiety about how these... Look, I don't know the full details of the report, but to me, on the face of things, inhibiting somewhat the power and the leverage that these billionaires have over our day-to-day politics doesn't seem to me to be an awful idea.
So this is the IPPR report, the Institute for Public Policy Research. They said they've been looking into this for a long time before the rise of Musk and Trump and before his election. And they say we've had a huge increase in what we call mega donors, donors giving more than £1 million to a party in 1 year. I do agree with you, actually. It does seem wrong that if you have very wealthy people, they can control the narrative by chucking cash at something. This isn't the United States.
No, and I think, David, what we need to do, going back to that point about social media at the start, we need to get out of 5-second soundbite conversations. We need to have a bit of nuance in politics and actually believe that ordinary people are clever enough to listen along, because newsflash, they are. So multiple things can be true at the same time. It can both be true that Keir Starmer has no foot to stand on. He's taken massive donations privately from Lord Ali, which only came out after the general election.
And the Tories from Sainsbury's.
And the Tories as well. This is not a point about saying that one party is right and another party is wrong. What we do, though, need is consistency. So we're going to introduce a bill. I actually probably think it is a good idea that we limit how much an individual can spend. That doesn't mean Elon Musk can't invest at all, and he has a right to spend his money as he wants to. We should probably cap it at the right level across the board. But can we just be clear about one thing? Elon Musk is a very rich billionaire, and he's looking to put a very big donation into a party that claims to be about ordinary people rising up together against the rich establishment. Now, that doesn't quite make sense to me, and I actually think reforms branding-wise would be better focusing more on a campaign of recruiting lots of young people, lots of ordinary people to invest a little bit and become members, as Nigel Farage, to be fair to his credit, has done in the last few days, and I think he's done quite a good job at that. I'm not actually sure the Musk £100 million donation at all sits with the brand.
I mean, it's very interesting. How much of this is sort of dangling a carrot? I get the sense that actually this is a publicity stunt.
I think you possibly could be right about. But I think it's very clear to everyone that Elon Musk is becoming increasingly interested in European politics and establishment politics. And what started...
And he hates Keir Starmer.
Yeah, and what started out as sort of tweeting a dozen times a day about politics is now becoming actually something real that I do think sort of the political establishment need to think about.
Very good, very good. Stay where you are, chaps. Let's take a break. After the break, we're going to be talking about this deal with the EU. Can Keir Starmer actually renegotiate with the United Kingdom? Also, I'll be telling you what Gen Z are wearing, and it's not very nice. This is the Future Politics panel. This is Weekend Breakfast. Good morning.
all the senior leadership around security and defense were told, sorry, he's having a bad day. That's code for he's got cognitive challenges and couldn't function. So we had a president who was cognitively impaired, and then he ran for president again, which was
crazy.
sickening. And they covered up that as well. The press did a great job covering for the Democrat Party until it was not sustainable anymore after the famous June 27th debate. And the only reason they pulled him was because he was polling 5 points behind Trump.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
About 8:46 in the middle of Future Politics panel with William Barclay, Jack Barwell. Let me just read you this one. Good morning, David. This is from Claire. Good morning, David, and a Merry Christmas to you and your team at Talk. Merry Christmas to you, and thank you for that. I disagree with Jack Barwell. Labour came in with no vision. No, Labour knew exactly what they wanted: to disengage, disenfranchise the British people of this country. He's a closet Corbynite. I don't think he's even that closet, actually, and has been all along. He wants to destabilise the country. I'm not sure it's that simple.
Well, Claire is right. I think Keir Starmer did always want to do this. What I meant, Claire, was that they came in with no vision that they sold to the public. Whether they had something in closed-off little SW1 rooms might be absolutely right. And Claire, both you and I are really frustrated that ordinary people have been taken for a ride by this government.
Well, one for you here. This is Anne. Good morning to you. Look, Nigel and his team will do a much better job. The team behind him are very capable also. Nigel doesn't have to give away too much at this stage. I'm sure he will have lots more to say close to the election. Happy Christmas.
It could well be true. I'm not that well acquainted with who Nigel's got supporting him behind him and his office, but what I would say is if you look at his rhetoric and his responses to sort of touchstone issues, the things he can say can strike one. They certainly strike me as dangerous, opportunistic. I don't think there's actually a sort of serious level of concern in some of the things he says. I'm not saying that makes him a bad person. I'm not saying that means that he doesn't ultimately care about what's best for the British people. I'm just saying...
What do you mean? Give me an example of a lack of concern.
I think there was lots of criticism of what he said after the riots in Southport, that the questions he was raising about the police weren't timed well, and I think there's some merit to that criticism. I think Nigel Farage, love him or hate him or about his politics and his views, there's definitely something to say that actually at this stage in the electoral cycle, he is opportunistic in his language, and sometimes he's purposefully ambiguous in a way that can be dangerous. And I think in that particular instance, I think that criticism was probably right for him. I think that reform, let's see what they present at the next election, but I think at the moment this is a party that sometimes can benefit from more division than unity in British politics.
Let's move on. I want to talk about the youth mobility scheme. Labour very keen to get this up and running. This is the deal with the EU over free movement of young people. Apparently it's on the cards, according to Stella Creasy. She says it's like pushing at an open door. I doubt that. She says it's a hot topic for the British government and the European Commission. I mean, this is the whole point. Obviously, I'm a fervent Brexiteer. We still haven't Brexited as far as I'm concerned. One of the things, and Charlie and I were talking about this, and I think one of the downsides is the lack of the ability for young people to have experience in other countries. That being said, I'm deeply nervous this is a backdoor into changing the rules relationship with the EU, and also if Starmer thinks the EU is a pushover, he's got another thing coming.
Quite right, David. We're not against youth mobility schemes. In fact, I believe we have a system in the Commonwealth where if you're under 25 from other Commonwealth countries, you can come into this country. But having said that, if it's such a good scheme, if Stella Creasy and the Labour government want to paint it as such a popular thing, why didn't they tell us about it before the election? Why not put it in the manifesto? Why not run on it and get the British support?
But actually, it's a really good point. If they put that in the manifesto, wouldn't they have got all the young people to vote for them?
Potentially, I think that could be a good point. I think the Labour Party have got a serious question to address about how they position themselves in terms of trade with the EU versus Donald Trump coming in.
Yeah, and of course Mandelson. I mean, it's interesting, a government spokesperson said there are no plans for a mobility scheme and we will not return to freedom of movement. Of course, and as I say, that I think actually just be very careful with the EU. They are very good at negotiating, as they proved before. Let's just move on and talk about terrible shoes like your ones, which you happen to be wearing. No, I don't think they're that bad.
That's kind of you to say.
Yes,
I like them as well. Some of my friends don't.
You got dressed in the dark this morning. You just picked out the nearest ones. Apparently, German sandal maker Birkenstock posted higher sales and profits. Ugly clogs prove a hit with shoppers. Apparently, sales jumped 21% to 1.5 billion over the year to September the 30th. Profits more than doubled. This is all to do with celebrities like Kendall Jenner, Katie Holmes. Apparently, they do you know what I'm talking about? These Birkenstock.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, because why? Because they were in the Barbie film.
No, just because it's just everyone's wearing Birkenstocks at the moment.
We should have a picture of the Birkenstocks, which can we show you? We'll try and bring you those. But I can't see you in a pair of Birkenstocks.
No, David, I tend to think sometimes that the in-trends aren't always the things that are going to last and actually give you the best sort of long-term look. And as a general rule, I think if big LA-based celebrities are doing something, Jack Barber's probably not going to do it.
I think that's
I'm quite happy with that principle.
That's very, very wise. So how do you choose your sartorial choices?
Well, I mean, it depends on what we're wearing. If I'm wearing a suit like this and we're in for professional, then, you know, you go into a nice shoe shop and you find something that, you know, fits the suit look. Black shoes for black suit, more tan for the blue one. But generally with shoes, I'm looking for something that's comfortable, that I want to wear, and that just... I mean, without making it too political, just feels normal. What every day people would wear.
For those people at home who have no idea, this is what I'm talking about. That
is awful.
That is awful.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, that is awful. What is that about? But apparently Gen Z are all over this. Just for those people who don't know, and we talked about this, I had to write down what Gen Z is. You're born between 1995 and 2015.
Yeah, that's me.
That's you.
Me.
So you're a Gen Zer. Apparently... You are really on trend, though, apparently, because the clog's popularity has been fueled by an ugly shoe trend. So ugly shoes are all the rage.
Yeah, that's weird. I I recognise that in my day-to-day life. I have friends who wear shoes like that. It's a sort of like bulkier shoe, I think, is coming back into fashion.
Oh, is it?
I don't know why, but...
Right. Talking of coming back into fashion, if you drink alcohol, Gen Zers, this is a bit shocking to me, are putting blue cheese in their cocktail. Apparently the ultimate ingredient to make a savoury cocktail is to put in blue cheese, particularly Stilton. It's a revival amongst younger shoppers. They're experimenting with recipes going viral on social media. Blue cheese martinis and tomatinis. Gen Z have been shunning all the things that we used to drink. Fruity punch, the porn star martini. I mean, you can't go wrong with a porn star martini as far as I'm concerned. Or a gin and tonic in my case. Blue cheese in a cocktail?
Nah, it doesn't sound quite right.
No?
Not sure about
Are you a cocktail maker?
No, I don't really drink cocktails. I'm acquainted with the pitchers and Wetherspoons. I don't know if you are. Which I also
acquainted with.
Yeah.
Yes. So a pitcher of what?
So...
I mean, obviously
they
drink responsibly.
A variety of different names, but they're kind of filled with ice and some energy drinks. A bit like what you're describing, a sort of fruity kind of mix.
So fruity is still in for Jen?
I think possibly, yeah.
Yeah, blue cheese or fruit?
Oh, definitely the fruit, David. Look, I'm never going to tell young people to stay away from the blue. I mean, that's what I'm really trying to convince them long term.
Very good.
But I'm not sure the blue cheese is the way to go about doing that, and that seems a little bit strange to me.
So apparently, this is Jack Parker, 23, from Kent, tried out the drink courtesy of an influencer. Here we go again. That's your TikTok. A.D. Smith. Apparently, they then put this blue cheese in. It's a blend of 1912 Stilton bourbon, maple syrup, Angostura, and chocolate bitter. And apparently it takes 5 days to make this thing. That's suffering for your art.
Yeah, that sounds like a misplaced use of time, I think.
I think it's a huge misplaced use of time. Talking of which, time is tight because we only have a few days to go until Christmas. Are you all done, prepared?
Got everything bought
Have you?
nice and ahead of time. You've got to be on it, David, so that you can have a nice last couple of days before Christmas. I think that's really, really important.
Well, apparently tomorrow is Manic Monday. 16 million shoppers online, in-store, splurging 1.46 billion. We've been showing people tech gifts. We've got some other gifts coming up in a minute for those last-minute supermarket things. Lots of people panicking and trying to get bargains. Are you all done?
Yeah, well, I'm one of 4, so we split the presents between us 4 siblings. So we just get one present for between the 4 of us, if that makes sense.
No, explain that.
So my sister, my brother, and
Yes.
and my other sister will just get one present between us 4 for our father, our mother.
I see. Okay,
yeah.
but you pitch in more money.
Yeah, we should split it 4 ways.
That's nice.
Yeah,
yeah.
I think it's the best way, because then you just get something better for them.
And then do you buy for each of your siblings?
No, but we've got a Secret Santa.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fine. And what do you? And are you one of?
I've bought for the siblings, bought for the parents.
How many siblings?
I've got 2 siblings, but not here to show. But if I can make one semi-serious point for maybe.
Yes.
Online culture for shopping is great and Amazon is wonderful, but let's remember our small businesses.
I agree.
Which are struggling this Christmas. Where I come from, down in Honiton, Sidmouth, we have amazing small businesses in East Devon, and if you've got the opportunity to go out
politician.
and buy something from a local shop,
honestly, you're speaking
it's a
like
great
a politician.
opportunity.
No, I totally
speak
agree.
like an ordinary person, David, that wants our small business to see out this Labour government.
I totally agree, and also you're right about actually going shopping on a high street, and the footfall's really important. And if we don't do that, and I'm guilty as anyone, but that's also because I do crazy hours, so it means that people do turn to online. But if you lose it, it never comes back, does it?
I just think our businesses helped us out a few years ago during COVID, and it's our turn to return the favour.
Well said, and I assume you'll agree with that.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Well done, well done. Thank you very much. And let me wish you a very happy Christmas as well. I hope you have a fantastic
Same
time.
to you.
William Barclay, undergraduate student of philosophy and politics, Jack Barwell, Conservative campaign manager. That was today's Future Politics panel.
The Future Politics panel.
Lots of messages coming in. So I'm asking, for Christmas, what would you like from the political class? The number 03444991000. You can text the word talk in your message to 87222. You can message us on X as well, at talkTV. You can leave a voice note as well. Very keen on those as well. Just in terms of the Future Politics panel, this is Anne. If your commentator thinks Nigel's words are dangerous, I would counter that with Keir Starmer's 2-tier policing, which is a real danger. And that is way worse.
How to actually run it.
Also, I think that was someone getting very keen on a voice note there. There was a book written in the 1970s, can't remember, this is Bernie, I can't remember the name, but it was How to Kill Democracy. You must start with the UK. Bad actors are enacting this. Gary, good morning to you. Good morning, David. This is a really strange thing that Rachel Reeves to come out with. This is the fact that she's saying Nigel Farage hasn't got a clue what he's doing. I actually picked up the economic policies which were from the election, and that's what I then spoke about quickly there. But essentially, Gary says it's a very strange thing for Rachel Reeves to come out with when she instructed the Blob to say 5p in the pound, which was a Richard Tice idea. So obviously feeling rather threatened by what is going on. Good morning. Lots of talk about business confidence here. Bill in Cheshire, one of our regulars. Good morning to you, Bill. A friend sold his profitable third-generation family business in March when he retired. It was profitable. OK, and lots of other businesses giving up. Reeves attacking reform. That's Bill in Cheshire. Bill in Cheshire, that's so rich, so says an inexperienced, overpromoted, arrogant, CV-adjusting, phony economist, and like the rest of her gang, she is totally deluded, absolutely deluded. They believe their own propaganda. They have no credibility whatsoever. Keep all of those messages coming in, please. Darren says, what I want for Christmas is a general election and for reform to be ready for it. Lots of other messages coming in as well. So what do you want for Christmas? Let me know. It can be from any political class at all. Honesty, integrity, a vision, optimism, something to look forward to in the new year, possibly. That would be a really good idea, possibly. Right, after the break, we're going to be looking at yet more Christmas gift ideas. We've done tech this morning already, but we're going to be giving you some other ideas. As I said, tomorrow is Manic Monday. That's when people are going to run around like headless chickens trying to buy those last-minute gifts. I'm going to do that today, actually, after this show. Also, I'm going to be talking to Fariza, who's come in with some last-minute Christmas gift ideas. Also, Rupert Bell will be joining me a little later on with the Royal Roundup. We're going to be talking about what the Christmas cards say about the royals. We're going to be talking about the King's speech as well at Christmas, and we'll be taking your calls. Do not go anywhere. This is Weekend Breakfast. Good morning.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello, a very good morning to you. Just after 9 o'clock on Sunday, December the 22nd. Here I am at home, enjoying my Christmas festivities. Thanks very much indeed for your company this morning. Great news if you have just joined us. It's Short Person Day today, a day that celebrates those people who come in to Rafe Fiennes. Well, as you know, he's an award-winning actor. He's ambassador for UNICEF. He also has Serbian citizenship, and he turns remarkably 62 today. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to you.
And if you didn't know it already, 3 days to go until Christmas. Tomorrow is going to be Manic Monday. People expected to hit the shops today. Also, Simon Calder was telling us pretty much travel chaos. Roads don't look too bad, but leave it till after 11 o'clock. That's what he was telling us this morning. But obviously, do check before you travel. Lots of flights cancelled. British Airways cancelling flights as well. Strong headwinds coming into Heathrow. So they've had to extend the times between all of those planes landing and arriving. So travel wisely. Right.
Young Mr. Bull, you haven't sent my elves your present list yet. Merry Christmas.
Good idea. I'll do that in a minute. Let's move on to today's fascinating facts.
Today's fascinating facts.
So here they are. On this day in 1716, Lincoln's Inn Theatre in London put on England's first pantomime. Wow. Which included the characters Harlequin, Columbine and Pantaloon. Also, on this day in 1943, the children's writer Beatrice Potter died. Her house at Hilltop in Surrey is open to the public. And then in 1965, the government tried an experiment. They brought in a speed limit of 70 miles an hour on motorways in England. And all these years later, that speed limit is still in force. The experiment continues. And those are today's fascinating facts.
Merry Christmas, it's a festive delight. Kicking off the season, feels so right with the David Bull Show. We're never gonna stop.
There you are, down with the kids. Good morning, 5 minutes past 9. This is Weekend Breakfast. Thanks very much for your company. Let's be serious for a moment. If you are just waking up, the Sunday Times front page, Germany given multiple warnings by Saudi Arabia over the market killer. Saudi Arabia said it repeatedly warned the German government about the extremist views of this man who worked as a doctor, drove a car into the Christmas market, killing at least 5 people, and very sadly, including a 9-year-old, also hundreds more injured. More people are expected to die as a result of this. I think it's fair to say there is political turmoil in Germany. Olaf Scholz has already lost a vote of confidence. There were protests last night that broke out. There are lots of questions being asked about the ideology, motivation of this person. He was originally a Muslim. He then said he was no longer a Muslim. There's talk about exacting revenge on the German people. Other people said that he was involved in some sort of charity work, but they were worried about his views, which they said bordered on paranoia, exhibiting strange behaviour. So more of this will come out as the police interrogate him and try to understand what actually drove him to do that. The Mail on Sunday, the Grinch Rachel Reeves steals 45% of your donations, say charities. So for every £1 you give to a charity, 45p is nicked by Rachel Reeves. And that's down to the employer's national insurance. They have been begging for some sort of exemption that has been turned down by the government. Here's a very embarrassing story. Sunday Express cuts force. HMS Queen Elizabeth out of action. This is a huge £3.5 billion warship we've only just built, and now we can't afford to run it. So they're going to mothball it. Their idea is that we are now going to have to give them 180 days notice to get it up and ready. Like Mr. Putin is going to ring up number 10 and say, by the way, I'll give you some warning now so you can get your warship ready. Lots of other messages, lots of other headlines this morning as well. This is one that's exercised people this morning. The Sunday Telegraph, net zero grocery tax to push up food bills. So pushing the cost of making sure that retailers actually reduce the amount of packaging that they have by whacking on huge levies, which will impact the consumer. That is you and me. Let's move on because, as I said, we haven't got much time to go until Christmas. This morning we've already talked about tech and some really good tech ideas, and now we're going to be talking about last-minute Christmas gift ideas, because if, like me, you still haven't completed your list, then I'm very pleased to welcome Fariza Bavea. Is that better this time?
It's better, but thank you so much for having me.
No, brilliant to see you. You have done such brilliant work on this, because you sent me through a list last night. And how difficult was it to compile?
Not difficult at all, because my love language is gift giving. So I'm quite used to, I'm usually like the responsible one for the family to kind of sort out the gifts when it comes to who's gifting what.
Great, okay.
So I loved it.
So where do you want to start?
I think we should start maybe from the top, so grandparents, parents.
Yeah.
So I think when it comes to Christmas gifts, you want to give something that the person wouldn't usually reach for themselves.
I agree with that, definitely.
So I think maybe some sort of experience, because grandparents and parents are people that usually have already everything, and they know what they need, they know what they don't need.
It's so difficult buying for parents or grandparents, I think, because you're right, they've got pretty much everything. And so what do you give them?
I think maybe like an experience. I'll say maybe like a spa day, because I've seen on Virgin Experience days you get 30% off, up to 70% off, starting from £30 and up. You can get massages, you can get a whole day at the spa, including lunch or dinner, whatever it is you choose. So like a pamper night, sauna, jacuzzi, all of that. And I think That's a great gift to start off in New Year.
It is a great
like
gift,
that.
and also possibly they wouldn't necessarily think about that for their own. You know, it may be not something that they would buy themselves. So that's a brilliant idea. So other ones are available, but you mentioned Virgin Experience Days there.
Yes, because they have amazing deals right now, 70% off, and then you also get the Vineyard Experience, and it's £25 per person.
Tell me more.
It's called Hambledon Vineyard, and it says up to £25 per person. You get to experience, you get to walk around the vineyard, get to do some wine tasting, and I think that's a very cute kind of day out for your family or for just your parents and grandparents, whoever it is.
That's a brilliant idea. What else?
I think also what's very sentimental is maybe like a DIY photo album. Right now, I know it's quite last minute, but you can go to any local booths and you can print out a lot of pictures from your phone from the past year that we're leaving behind, 2024, or the best memories that you share together. Get any album that maybe you already have an album, or maybe go to TK Maxx or Ryman's or whatever it is. Get an album and just stick it in there, and it's very sentimental, something they're going to keep forever.
So that's a really good point, because if I was to consider that, I would expect some of those online ones where you upload the photos, but they take many days. But you're right, if you go to somewhere like Boots, for example, you can print them out.
It can take up to 2 hours.
Yeah,
you can do it. I've done it before, and it's lovely, and my mom was so happy.
Oh, good, excellent. All right, no, brilliant idea. What else?
So maybe for parents that work from home, on Amazon they have heated mugs. So, or like a heated coaster, so you know when you get your tea and then you start brewing it and then 20 minutes later it's cold.
I do. Here we can see one. Talk us through this.
So if you put some coffee in or tea, and then it keeps it warm for however long you want it for. And that's lovely. I've got one for my dad the other
year. And what sort of price are we talking about for that?
There's a variety of different ones. You can get coasters. They start from £10 on Amazon. You can get the actual mug. Starts from £30 on Amazon. So whatever it is, you can have a browse. There's many options. And I've checked online today, and Amazon still offers one-day delivery. So if you get it today, if you order it by 12 p.m. today, you can get it tomorrow.
That's a really
just
good
in
one.
time for Christmas.
I always have very cold coffee because it sits there for ages. So that's a really good one.
You would benefit from a heated coaster.
Now, you mention also for parents, mum, dad, grandparents, you've got one more up your sleeve.
Yes, we have organizers. It's basically like jewelry organizers, watch organizers, whatever it is. It makes the space kind of clean and tidy, just so easy. And I feel like everyone always says, oh, I need to get that, but then they forget, and then you get it for them, and now the whole year starts off with a tidy desk space.
Yeah, nice. I like that. Very, very personal gifts. Well done. Now, if you're buying, these are a nightmare to buy for teenagers and kids.
Oh, yeah. I think I was having a look on TikTok, so see what's going viral. And you can never go wrong with emoji slippers or Stanley cup.
So what do you mean by emoji slippers?
Emoji slippers is this new brand, brand or trend that started a year ago. It's just like fuzzy slippers with like little emojis on them.
Right.
And they're so cozy. You get different ones. You get hearts, smiley faces, cowboy boots, kisses, martinis.
I like that. And in fact, so my nephew and nieces bought me some monster slippers last year, and I rather like them. They're big blue monster slippers with eyes.
Yeah, it's very cute. It's very cozy. They're going to use it. And also a Stanley cup. You can never go wrong with that.
What's the Stanley cup?
It's a big 1.2 litre mug or cup. It has a straw, and it went viral on TikTok like a year ago, I think, or maybe 2 years ago. And it's amazing. It keeps the cold up to 48 hours. Or it keeps the ice 11 hours. So whatever you put in the water or Coke or whatever it is, it's going to keep it cold.
When I was on a cruise, I saw people with those great big things in the pool with them, and it kept their beer cold.
It looks funky, but once you start, I have one, and now I can never go back.
Yeah, good. Love that. Okay, so anything else? What have you got else for teenagers and kids?
There's this very cute thing. It's called Build-A-Bear. You can go to Hamleys today or any... You can do it online, too. I'm not sure they're going to be in time for Christmas, but I think if you go in store, you have a variety of different plushies that you can choose from.
Right.
And you can voice record your voice, what you want to say to them, a message, Merry Christmas or Happy New Year, whatever they celebrate. And you can dress them up, you can name them, and then it's like a little gift that you keep forever.
Lovely. Love that. Right, what else?
You also have PJs and a disposable camera.
Yeah.
PJs are always nice, especially a matching set, especially if it's a girl, a teenage girl. She's always going to love maybe a cute pink.
So now, well, do they? That's my worry, is if you buy pink for a girl, is that, am I out of touch?
You know, I don't know. I'm a girl. My favorite color is pink. I think it's, I like it. It's a very calm color. Or it can be anything, white, blue, whatever the color, the favorite color is. You can get them matching PJ.
Yeah,
very
that's
cute.
nice. Very good. And then what else did you mention there?
An instant photo printer. It's available on Amazon, and it's the best thing ever. It changes your life.
So tell me more.
You can order on Amazon. There's different price points for whatever brand it is, and you connect it via Bluetooth, and it instantly prints out the pictures from your phone.
Oh, I love that.
So if you have that,
do you need special paper then for that?
It comes in a
It all
pack.
comes, right,
yeah, and then you
great.
can just order them on Amazon, and then the photo album making could be
And so
quicker.
what sort of price are we talking about for an instant photo printer?
It starts from £35 on Amazon, different price points. Then you have bigger brands like Canon, they do that, Kodak, that's a bit pricier.
But I imagine that's quite a hit with those teenagers because they love that. They love the whole idea of posing and, you know, have the instant
100%.
gratification of
Because
that.
everyone takes selfies and group pictures, but now you don't need But then also you have a disposable camera, which is very trendy.
Yeah, very much so. Okay, cool. Let's move on then and talk about for him.
For him. I'm thinking experiences is amazing too. You get golf experiences.
Yes.
Which I think golf is a big trend this year
Very much.
too. And I think it's going to be lovely. You get Top Golf in London.
I still think your wine tasting will go down well here as well.
Exactly. Or also Electric Cinema in London. It's a big cinema and it kind of retro style, like in a style of the 90s.
Oh, yeah, we were just looking at pictures there. What? So talk me through that.
Electric Cinema?
Yeah.
Electric Cinema is like a 90s style cinema. Sometimes they do reruns of old movies.
Nice.
So you can... And the tickets start from £15. So for two, and then you serve... It's like a diner style, so you can order food and drinks and cocktails. You do whatever you want. It's like a cute little date night experience. Sometimes they run like Tarantino movies. Sometimes they run Breakfast at Tiffany's. Well, that's probably not for him. But that can work both ways.
Yeah, no, absolutely right. What else for him?
It's a new gadget that's going viral. It's called AirFly. It's this little Bluetooth kind of thingy that you can connect to airplane screen.
Yes.
And then you connect.
So weirdly, we spoke about this earlier on today with the tech. Yeah.
Yeah.
So for those people who weren't with us earlier, just remind us what we're talking about here.
So this is a little device that you plug into the airplane screen, and then you can Bluetooth connect your own headphones.
Yeah, you see, that's brilliant. And
That's amazing.
Well, Fevzi mentioned this earlier, and I just think that's so brilliant because it stops you getting tangled up in the wire.
Exactly.
Those headphones are never very good. They give you on an aircraft, and you can use your own. I love that.
You can use your own. You can do noise cancellation if you're sitting next to loud people or loud kids or whatever it is.
Yeah, that's always good.
And also, surprising, maybe a skincare set, because I think a lot of, especially men in my family, they don't usually reach for skincare. Maybe it's because they don't know what they need.
It's the biggest growing market.
Yeah, and they don't, because there's such a big variety of whatever is available. So I think if you get them a good skincare set, they're going to be using it. They're going to be grateful after.
I'm sure they will. Anything else for him?
A fitness tracker, I think.
Yeah. So what sort of prices are we talking about? Because some of them are really pricey.
Some of them are really pricey. Of course, you get like Apple Watch, which is extremely expensive. But then you get Fitbit, which is a bit less expensive. And then you get all sorts of brands on Amazon available starting from £25. So I think there's a great choice out there.
I like that. I like that a lot. I'm slightly obsessed with watching what I'm doing. Right, for her?
Oh, for her, I love that. That's my favorite. I think for her, you can never go wrong with a bit of jewelry.
Yeah.
And especially when it comes to birthstones or star signs, because that's a bit more personal. And you have them available anywhere you go nowadays. You get different stores that have them. Anthropology make amazing ones on Amazon. You get one starting from £12, and they're lovely. They're gold, silver, rose gold. I think it's a very personal touch.
Yeah.
You just put on, and then you...
I like that. And it shows a bit of thought as well.
Exactly.
What else?
And then you also get scrubs, or maybe like a little hamper basket for like a bath day. You can put... My favourite scrubs right now is Tree Hut. It's gone viral on TikTok once again.
Oh, I thought you meant like scrubs you wear. You mean like scrubs?
Oh, no, like scrubs, body scrubs.
Well, no, you see,
It's
I've
like
reverted to being a doctor. Okay, so body scrubs, okay.
Body scrubs.
All right, like that. We've spoken about your photo printer earlier, so that obviously would apply here. What about wine?
this, it's a funny name. It's called chicken wine, but it's only because it actually was named something else. It's a French wine brand, but now they've done a whole rebrand because of how it went viral on social media, because everyone's calling it chicken wine because it has a little chicken on it, and it's a rosé that's supposed to taste the same as Whispering Angels, which is obviously on a pricier side. And it's really nice wine, and it's almost sold out everywhere, but it's available at Waitrose and Sainsbury's.
And how much are we talking about?
£7.
Oh, that's good.
It's really good, and it's really good wine. It looks aesthetic, and people are going crazy over it. You have it with some ice, maybe. Lovely.
Okay. So, sorry, what is that called?
Chicken wine.
La Vieille Ferme.
Yes, but they're making a rebrand, and now they're going to be calling it chicken wine.
Chicken wine. That's much easier to say.
Much easier.
Okay, I'm loving that. So chicken wine rosé, available from Waitrose and Sainsbury's. That's £7. And then finally for her?
The satin pillowcase set.
Yeah, nice.
It's life-changing. It makes
It's life-changing?
It's life-changing.
Wow.
Your skincare game is so much better, and then your hair is less frizzy, you avoid breakage. It's just so much nicer.
And then finally, you've mentioned experiences. So generally,
yes.
You've mentioned care packages, goodie box, that kind of thing. Just anything else you want to add here?
100%. These are my personal favorites. If you get them a blind date with a book, and I suggest get Tuesdays with Maury by
What's
Mitch
a blind
Albom.
date with a book?
You get a book that they personally wouldn't really reach for, and then you wrap it up in craft paper, and you write like a little plot, something that you like, and maybe add a little bookmark, maybe add a little tea bag, something that they like. And I really recommend to buy Tuesdays with Maury. It's available W.H. Smith,
Nice.
Waterstones, anywhere. It's like a best friend in a book.
Yeah, that's really nice. Very thoughtful. Very thoughtful.
And then
indeed.
you get the 5-minute journal or the 6-minute diary or any other gratitude journal.
Right, what's that?
These are gratitude and affirmation journals. I know a lot of people start the new year off with New Year resolutions.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is really nice. You start off the day by writing what you're most grateful for, your family, yourself, and then you finish off the day by saying what went well today, what didn't go well today, and then you can just reflect, and you start doing that every single day. It really changes your life.
There we are, Fariza, and thank you so much. I wish you a very happy Christmas
Thank
as
you
well.
so
What are you
much,
doing
you
for
too.
Christmas?
I'm staying here. I have to work.
I'll be here with you. Do not worry. Do not worry. Fariza, thanks ever so much
Thank you
for
so much.
that. Fariza there with some last minute gift ideas. As I say, tomorrow is going to be Manic Monday. People hitting the shops as well. But as Fariza said, you can still get stuff on online portals. We heard also earlier on, you can also get it from various outlets, including Amazon, for example, if you sign up to Prime. And then I was told you can actually sign up for a trial and then cancel it, which is a bit of an interesting one. Obviously, I wouldn't condone such behaviour. Anyway, after the break, I'm going to be talking to Rupert Bell. We're going to be talking about what the Royal Christmas cards mean, about the royals themselves. Also, of course, we are eagerly anticipating the King's speech this Christmas, and I think it's fair to say that this year has been quite a year for the royal family. Rupert Bell, royal commentator, will be joining me after this break. This is Weekend Breakfast. Good morning.
And we live in a society where a woman can post something on Facebook and get 15 months in prison. And she can do that with a milkshake. It was a milkshake, but it could have been acid, and walks away free.
What I hated, actually, was her walking out as if she's on a catwalk. She's got her big sunglasses on. I mean, she's obviously not taking it seriously. She's all dolled up. And I just think for her to walk into court like that was just... I was just taking the mick, wasn't it? And then her to come out, and she smirked. She didn't care. She knew she got away with it.
And all followers. And also, and the judge even made a point of saying that she had shown no remorse whatsoever.
Yeah.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. This is Talk. 9:25 already, 3 hours 25 minutes into Weekend Breakfast. Thanks ever so much for your company this morning. I'm asking, for Christmas, what would you like from the political establishment? Is there one gift that you would like? 0344 499 1000. Kevin in Macclesfield says, good morning, David. Good morning. Merry Christmas. This government promised the WASPy women they would sort them out. The blood scandal, the post office scandal, the pensioners. They told total lies to get them to vote Labour. We should have another election because they lied. Since when did lies become the truth? And the left wing called us far right because of what we said would happen has happened and is happening. And we said that terrorism would occur, and that is exactly what is happening. We're welcoming anyone into this country. I'm paraphrasing this slightly. We're right about everything we said. The left will go on denying we're right. One day they will wake up. We were right about Labour. They were lying to get votes. It is full of crooks. This makes the mafia look like angels. That's Kelvin in Macclesfield. Thank you for that. A very long and passionate message. This is rather lovely. Les in Cheshire says, good morning, David. The best gift you can give this Christmas is a donation gift to a child who has nothing. I would agree. What a lovely sentiment. Good morning, David, says Pat. Good morning to you. Thank you to all your wonderful weekend show. You and the Talk team have helped to keep us sane during this very depressing time. Thank you. I wish you a very happy Christmas as well. Just one more. Good morning, David. Kim from Kent here. Read the train strikes due to not working. We were talking to Simon Calder about this. They don't want to work weekends. Well, let me tell you, David, I work in the care industry. It's 24/7, 365 days of the year as we are needed. But so is transport to get the care staff and nurses, doctors to work. Transportation is a necessity. It is not a luxury. And maybe some of these overpaid train employees and their indulged unions should remember this. I agree wholeheartedly with that. Thank you for that. Keep all of those messages coming in. Now, though, it's time, he hates me doing this, for Whooper's World Roundup. Very sadly, it's not going to play. Good morning, Rupert.
Good morning, David.
Well, you were saved, Rupert.
I know, I was building it up, and then sanity was restored.
Yeah, well, indeed. Where are you today?
I'm at Excel because I've been at the London International Horse Show all week. Ooh. So when it's the final day today, been great fun, great equestrian entertainment, and lots of people coming every day to enjoy some great sport, full stop.
Now, that's interesting because I understand also you were on Wednesday night at the British Equestrian Media Lifetime, or you gave an award, didn't you? Tell us more about that.
Well, I had the privilege of giving an award to Princess Anne for her. I am chairman of the British Equestrian Media Association, and we decided, voted basically to see if we could give Princess Anne a Lifetime Achievement Award, and she graciously accepted. And I had the privilege of presenting it to her at the end of the performance on Wednesday night, where she was attending the show because she is patron of the Riding for the Disabled, and they're the charity for the show, so she was there to meet that and also to meet some of our Olympic riders who've done so well in Paris And so she was there at the show, and so it was an opportunity for us to present the award in front of a sellout crowd and appreciate the work she's done for the sport, because not only was she a brilliant rider in her own right, she's a former European champion. She's a former BBC Sports Personality of the Year. She competed in the 76 Olympics, but she's also been a very strong advocate for the sport, working as president of the FEI, and also she's worked very closely with the Olympic Association as well, sort of promoting equestrian sport. So it's something that, from a equestrian point of view, is thoroughly deserved, because she's been a true champion of all things equestrian.
I think we've got a picture, actually, of you presenting that award. Just in terms of that, I mean, I think I've met her. I'm sure I met her many years ago. What's she like? I mean, would she be quite humbled by that?
She was. There's no two ways about it. Look, she's normally used to giving out prizes. Indeed, just before I had the opportunity to present that award, she'd given out a trophy to the winner of the Puissance competition. She'd given out another trophy to somebody else, and so the tables were turned on her. But you don't just turn up with a glass and do it. You have to sort this out before.
Yes.
But so she wasn't surprised by me. I wasn't doorstepping her.
Well, I have to say, Rupert, you look very much the part there. Congratulations on doing that as well. Look, we've got to go to a break, but after the break, I'm just really keen to look at some of the Christmas cards the royal family have sent out, what that says. I mean, we always kind of read into things and what the cards say about the families. Also, I think it's fair to say they've had one heck of a year, and we'll talk more about that. So Rupert will be rejoining me after this break. Don't go anywhere.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. We're in the middle of talking to Rupert Bell, and now I can do it because we have the technology. It's time for Rupert's Royal Roundup.
Rupert's Royal Roundup.
Couldn't resist, Rupert.
Well, never mind. Spirit of goodwill and all that.
Well, quite. Now, should we look at the Christmas cards? I mean, I don't know where you want to start here, but I mean, it's been a heck of a year for the royal family, one way or another, hasn't it? And I suppose the Christmas cards kind of tie into that.
Yeah, they do. And if you think this time last year, the royal family were heading off to their Christmas break at Sandringham and in Norfolk, and all seemed serene. And of course, we saw the royal family out and about on Christmas Day. But then a couple of weeks later, it all unravelled with the news that both the King and indeed the Princess of Wales had gone into hospital and actually, obviously, subsequently discovered that both had cancer and are still undergoing various forms of treatment as a result. So certainly this 12 months has been a very different one from what they probably envisaged was going to happen at the start of the Christmas break. So when we look at the various Christmas cards, and certainly the Prince of Wales's Christmas card, you see it as a family gathering. From the pictures from their summer holiday in Norfolk, we obviously had seen a video of their time in the summer holidays, and this is a picture from that showing a sort of a happy family in many ways.
Do you know that is just such a lovely photograph, actually, of all of them?
Yes, and I think it's important, they know that, and that's what the Prince of Wales has been trying to do, make sure that he's there for his family and why he hasn't been out and about. But as you put it into context with regard to him, he's obviously got his father battling cancer and indeed his wife. And obviously in his case, should the worst happen, he then becomes king and his life changes, on a sixpence. So it's been a complicated year for him to negotiate away. But what I think they've always tried to maintain that their immediate family, i.e. their 3 children, come first, and the Princess of Wales has, we know how committed she is outside in her role for the early years and helping children in those early years, but actually in terms of being there for her children and helping them understand what their mother's going through has been a very much part of what she's been doing this year.
Let's move on to the King and Queen, because as you mentioned, the King being treated for cancer, he's still very upbeat. I mean, he's a man who likes to work. I think their card also is quite symbolic.
Well, yes. I mean, in terms of what showing a united front in terms and how much he does depend on the Queen. Now, she, after that state visit when they went to Australia and Samoa, she too has had her own health problems when she a serious chest infection that prevented her from carrying out her full set of duties. But she's been having to manage his time throughout the year, and they are very much a united front. And I think that's the important thing. She knows that she has to try and, in a sense, control his enthusiasm to be out and about and actually manage his recovery. And she has played an important part. But she's also made sure that she can try and get out as much as possible to be seen and helping get the royal family, the public face of the royal family out there, because they know it's so important that they are seen to engage with the British public and wherever they can.
Shall we talk about Harry and Meghan and their card?
If you insist.
Yeah.
Well, look, I mean, obviously we see the picture of them as a family with both the Duke and Duchess of Sussex greeting their children as they run towards them, a sort of happy family moment. But there's also, you have to say, trying to create and show what good they're doing, the sort of art aspect. And it's, they're saying, well, look at us, we are out there. But I think, you talk about the royal family in this country having a difficult year. They have had, I think, an equally as difficult year as they have failed, really, I think, at times to negotiate their way through and move on from all the spare, the documentaries, because this time last year we had the book coming out. I think it's been a learning curve for them, and I'm not sure they've done a brilliant job. And that polo documentary, and obviously I've been talking about a horse event, and I tell you what, the horsey world, and particularly the polo world I've been speaking to say it was not good. They did not enjoy watching it, and people who are in the sport, so in this country, think it was not good, and it hasn't been well received. We've obviously seen them now trying to work on different paths, more individual rather than both being at events together. So I think they have got to really regroup and wonder where are they going to be in 12 months' time. And how is their life going to unfold from what they want to do? But I would suggest they haven't had a great year on not a commercial front, it's not been particularly successful.
Can we just look back at that card, actually? Because the other thing, and maybe this is me, but it's from Archwell Productions, Archwell Foundation. You're right. To me, it's kind of like it's trying too hard, this. Also, I can't help notice it doesn't say Happy Christmas. It says Happy Holiday Season.
Yeah, and I don't know what the Duke of Sussex is. Happy Holidays is a very American thing to do. So you would suggest it was Meghan who had the call on that. It almost looks like a business card.
Yes, it does.
With the fact that they're showing this is what we're about. Now, yes, you have to do the family element, but why couldn't they just put out one with the family, just like anybody else, rather than, the king hasn't put a picture of him being in Australia and everything else. Instead, they're just almost like trying to show, look at us, we're still relevant. It's trying too hard, in my eyes, as to what this card says. Sometimes you just have to, as they say, there's the great mnemonic, KISS. Keep it simple, stupid, and it goes a long way. And just overcomplicating it just adds to the sort of trying too hard element of where they are in and perceived now.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's trying too hard there. Also, so just looking forward, of course, Christmas is a time of celebration of family. We look forward to the new year, new beginnings and so on. I still think the King's speech is an important part of Christmas. Do you have any sense of what the King will say? I'm assuming he'll draw on the fact that he's been very unwell and he will be talking about the sanctity of life and I suppose new beginnings.
I think what he will say is the support of loved ones around him. We're sort of getting a sense also from what the Princess of Wales has been saying. Remember, her carol concert will be shown on Christmas Eve, I believe, and in the evening on ITV. She'll be talking about the importance of support from families and people around you and sharing love and empathy. And I think the King will be looking to do something similar because, it's been a pretty difficult year. Forget the royal family. There's been a lot of dissension around the place, and he will be trying to say, look, let's just show a bit of love and care. And in many ways, that will be not only, caring at home, but obviously on a wider scale. So this message isn't just for people in this country. It's part of the Commonwealth. It will be a message to all and sundry. So it will be interesting how he reflects on what for him will be not only battling cancer, but for him, he'll be deeply frustrated that he hasn't been able to do what he wants because of his condition.
And then finally, I think we need to talk about Prince Andrew, don't we, of course, because his Christmas plans have rather changed.
Yes, and by his own undoing, once again, his choice of friends has put him into a right hotspot. And he should be thinking, and obviously this relationship with this alleged Chinese spy has really put his Christmas plans well and truly on the back burner, because the royal family didn't need him walking to church on Christmas Day because he'd be the story. And that's not what the royal family want. They know that he is creating some difficulties for them. There's a lot of eye rolling within palace corridors about his way he goes about his business at times. And obviously links with China, they're in the news at the moment for obvious reasons. And his close relationship with these people and setting up, and by all accounts, he set up a bank in China as well, bank account in China as well. So, it's all a little bit unsavory. But unfortunately, throughout his life, his choice of friends has caused him problems, and it's yet another one. And how he goes forward, it's going to require maybe some eating of some humble pie, but it's not something that he does naturally.
Can I just ask, though, who's advising him?
He tends to advise himself. That was the problem. He thought it was a good idea to do the Emily Maitlis interview with other people, So, unfortunately, the two people who caused the problems for the royal family, that's Prince Harry and Prince Andrew, don't tend to be one. They seem to be convinced at times by their rightness and their course of action. And sometimes you actually have to be able to read the room. And Prince Andrew's ability to do that is definitely in question.
Yeah, as they got called yesterday in the paper, or at least the palace referred to the two of them as the Dukes of Hazzard. And I think that's pretty apt, don't you?
I think that's as good a description as possible, because they are basically a permanent problem for the royal family when they've got other things to worry about. They want to move forward, and their lack of those two being around has obviously exposed, you know, the problems within the royal family in the sense that they're short on numbers. But we do know, and obviously we talked about Princess Anne, she's made sure she's as visible as she can be. The Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh have made sure they've stepped up to the plate and done as much as possible, but in a low-key way, but have definitely helped the King over this year. So for 2025, it will be a time of sort of regrouping and hoping that both the King and the Princess of Wales can complete their recovery and return to something like a more normal life.
Well, Rupert, it just remains for me to say a very happy Christmas to you as well. Are you doing something nice?
Well, I'm going home tonight after the horse show and probably have a big sleep tomorrow, and then I'll crank it up for Christmas, going to some friends for Christmas. And then in the new year, I'm off for a holiday for 3 weeks. So you may not be speaking to me till February, but I have to say, I admire your waistcoat. You wear it with confidence, David.
Thank you so much, Rupert. Have a really good Christmas. That's Rupert Bell, their royal commentator. And that was today's Rupert's Royal Roundup.
Rupert's Royal Roundup.
Talking of Christmas, if you were to wish for a Christmas present from the political classes, what would it be? The number 0344 499 1000. Steve, good morning to you. It's news to me that train staff don't work weekends. That's not quite what we were saying. I've been on the railway 25 years. I could have sworn I've worked 3 out of 4 weekends. This weekend happens to be my weekend off, but you seem to think my rostered rest days I should be forced to work. Sorry, I'm not getting into uniform. Try telling the truth to your ill-informed listeners, as I suspect you are just stirring the pot. That's not what we're saying. What we were talking about is the number of train cancellations, and the fact is that people who rely on the train to get to their workplace or to go and visit relatives, it's just such an unreliable network now, and something needs to give on that. And so the government has paid huge pay increases to people who work on the trains, and the public aren't seeing the benefit of that. And that is, I think, the concern and the anger that's being directed back at those who work on the railway. But obviously you work very hard, and I think it's about changing working practices across the network. Now, we'll go to a break. After the break, I'll take some of your calls, your thoughts. We've got some voice notes as well. I'll be doing all of those after this break. This is Weekend Breakfast. Good morning.
Done anything like this before? I mean, I don't know enough about your history really, but I mean, have you ever done anything like this, and was it hard finding a place to record it and put it out there?
No, I've never done anything like this at all, Mike. And to be honest, the whole thing, I basically made it from my computer at home. You know, I hired a guy to do the vocals. He had his own booth. He did that. He sent them to me. I hired a second guy to do the video. And then I did all the work in between, putting it together and producing the track just at home, basically. So it was all just done essentially in my bedroom.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back to the final part already of Weekend Breakfast, 9:50, Sunday, December the 22nd. Today is going to be crazy, by the way, when you go out shopping, if you have to get those last-minute gifts. And hopefully earlier on, we were able to give you some inspiration for those people that are tricky to buy for. Tomorrow, by the way, Manic Monday. Also, Simon Calder was telling us that there is quite a lot of chaos out there in terms of the roads. So make sure you check before you travel. After 11 o'clock, he was telling us, is better on the roads, or leave it till later tonight. If you're flying, do check the airports. Lots of flights being cancelled because of the strong winds. Heathrow particularly badly affected, according to Simon, so do check. Ferries also cancelled, so make sure you check as well before you travel. And we were talking about the trains as well. Big stations are being closed in London, and some other problems around the country as well. So once again, the advice is to check before you travel. So I'm asking, for Christmas, what would you like from the political class? The number 0344 499 1000. Lynn from Staines, good morning to you. A Christmas gift from the political elite would be a no-confidence vote and a general election. That seems to be a sentiment that's pretty much echoed by a lot of people. Angie, hi, Dr. David. I don't need anything for Christmas. I just wish I hadn't contracted norovirus 3 days before Christmas. So now it's cancelled. I am so sorry. Fluids, rest, paracetamol. Look, hopefully, hopefully it won't last that long. She goes on to say, have a great Christmas, David, to you and everyone at Talk. Well, happy Christmas to you, and I do hope you feel better soon. Mark in Devon, good morning to you. Merry Christmas, says Mark. Good morning, David. Fantastic show as always. Thank you. Just a thought, how about a Christmas present that hasn't gone viral on social media, or something that isn't some Chinese-made rubbish that will be in landfill before the end of January? Good point. A present that has been thought about, something special, selected with thought and care, and not by an influencer. You know, just how it used to be. Just a thought. Mark, happy Christmas to you as well. Let's also move on to some voice notes. Here's one from Patty. Good morning.
Morning, David. You're both looking stunning this morning. Merry Christmas to you both. I think the problem with our government, the Tories, particularly over the last years, is that we were in the EU too long and they've forgotten how to actually run a country. They were just waiting to be told what to do all the time. Absolutely useless. Well, have a lovely, lovely Christmas.
Thank you, and to you. And, of course, you were referring to Charlie Rowley, who came as a rather resplendently in a gingerbread man outfit. That's a really good point, actually, that actually governments have forgotten how to govern. And I think you can see that with the Labour government, where they actually have no idea what they're doing. But that's understandable. They've been in opposition for so long. But for many people, including many of our viewers, what is unforgivable is the about turn, the fact there is abject, well, it's lying, isn't it? They said they wouldn't do something, and then they definitely did do the things they said they wouldn't do. Let's take another voice note now. This is Ian. Good morning.
Hi, David. It's Ian from France. You know what I'd like from our politicians? The truth.
Well, that's a good one. Yeah, the truth. I think that's truth and honesty, integrity. I keep going on about vision as well. That's what I think. I just don't see a vision. Where does the government want us to be in, say, 12 months or 24 months, or at the end of this electoral cycle? Where are we going to be? Are we going to be feeling richer? Are we going to be warmer? Are we going to feel more secure? Is the world going to be a safer place? That's what I think we want to hear. Let's get another one now. This is Martin, who's left a voice note.
Good morning, David. This is Martin in Oxfordshire. I want one thing. First and foremost, I want my country back.
Well, that's a good one. I wonder, back from where? I mean, what sort of country is that? I think we also spoke about assimilation earlier with Charlie. The fact is that if you come to this country, or if you're born into this country and you're third generation, then integration is key. So that we all have shared values and shared belief systems. And I think that's really important. Jenny in Oxford says, David, my Christmas present would be a repeal of Human Rights Act replaced with a British Bill of Rights, putting us at the front of the queue. That's Jenny in Oxford. Who's this? Darren in Twickenham. Good morning, David. I'd like 3 wise men to visit the Houses of Parliament and deliver 3 gifts: intelligence, integrity, there you go, and empathy. Thank you, Darren in Twickenham. Great waistcoat. Thank you very much. Happy Christmas, and very happy Christmas to you as well. Joe Clark, I'm sorry, apparently you're closing your business. I'm assuming that's because of the adverse trading conditions. This is Mark in Selby. A happy Christmas to you. What I want for Christmas from our politicians is to tell the truth, protect UK citizens, our politics and politicians. Steve Smedley, good morning to you. Steve makes this point about Rachel Reeves, of course, very odd, turning her fire onto Nigel Farage and Reform UK. He says if Rachel Thieves is concentrating her fire on a party with only 5 MPs, then Reform must be doing something right. Thanks ever so much for all your messages this morning. Well, a very festive Peter Cardwell joins me this morning.
Always festive. Hello,
You're
David.
never festive. Good morning. Yeah, no, I'm all right.
That is quite the waistcoat there.
What's wrong with it?
Blue. There's nothing wrong with it. I'm saying I'm admiring it. It's blue and it's shiny.
I look like wrapping paper.
Yes, good point. Good point. Well made.
I think I do. We've had a tremendous show, actually. People very exercised by what is going on around the world. And what's coming up?
Well, we're asking a similar question, not quite the same question to you, but we're saying who do you think the political Grinch is? Who's the one who's been the political Grinch
Rachel Reeves
this year? Well, I think some people might say that.
I mean, come on, it's the answer. That's the answer.
This story about 45% of charity donations going to the Exchequer, I mean, that is not good at all.
But you know, they've asked for an exemption from the Treasury, and of course she said no.
Yeah, of course. Well, you look at hospices, you look at national insurance contributions for them, for GPs practices.
But by the way, I just have to tell, I don't know if you saw this, Starmer sold some land, right? And he sold the land and netted £400,000, and it wasn't a huge amount of land. So how he can turn around and say that the majority of farms are not affected by his policy of inheritance tax, I mean, none of it makes any sense.
Well, I just don't think he understands farming, to be honest. I think he often doesn't understand things that are outside Islington, which I'm afraid is the case for many.
There aren't many farms in Islington.
There aren't many farms in Islington. No. There are many politicians who don't understand things beyond the end of their nose in many respects, and from lots of different parties. We'll get the latest on the German Christmas market attack. We'll talk about Rachel the Grinch Reeves. We'll talk about Elon Musk as well. Also, the grocery tax to push up shopping bills. This is really bad, especially coming up to Christmas as well. And net zero is an element of this as well. So it's because of net zero that they're charging more for the packaging. Unsurprisingly, those bills are going to go up, and that's going to hit you and me and everybody else here in their shopping bills.
But it's extraordinary because Michael Gove was going to introduce this, dropped it. Labour's pushed it through, quietly gone through. I hadn't heard anything about it. Of course, it's now passed.
We had a big and spirited debate yesterday about Sarah Sharif and the fact that the judges won't be named, the earlier judges, the family court judges and so on. And a higher court judge has put a gag on that, saying that the press can't be trusted to discuss this. So what implications does it have for free speech? We'll be speaking to a social worker and director of a consultancy around this. Would be really interesting. We're also talking about Afghanistan hasn't been forgotten, veterans at Christmas.
That's a good one.
And Afghan veterans serving at this time.
I think that's really important. Veterans at Christmas.
Of course it is. We've got to remember it. We're going to talk about Christmas travel as well. And the most important thing is, can I get to the airport after the programme?
Are you flying?
I am indeed.
Have you checked? Because there are very strong winds according to some.
I know.
You do.
Yes. Well.
And are you all right?
Lots of Brussels sprouts around. So often strong winds.
Do you think you'll be all right?
My flight seems to be taking off from the airport. It seems to be